Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and that means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever is on your mind. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Riley,
Angelo,
and we have lots of things to talk about. I titled the streams tonight about how armed regular people keep you safer, and we're going to talk about that tonight. There's all kinds of different things to talk about. Apparently Twitter, especially the so-called twinks, thought that Trump was dead yesterday. Did you guys hear about that?
I've heard about it. I've heard all the tweets, read all the tweets, and I think it's hilarious that people think Trump is dead.
Weirdly, I only saw one post, and it was a Lady Gaga stan saying, like, oh my god, Lady Gaga's song's about to come out, and it's called Dead Dance, and that means that we can use it to celebrate Trump being dead. And I was like, what the heck are they talking about? So I Googled it, and literally the internet was like, so Twitter twinks are saying that Trump is dead. Is this true?
I think it's just the leftist pipe dream thinking that their least favorite authoritarian in chief is dead. And I remember distinctly the same sort of fervor going on with the right about Biden because he's creaky and old and he's about to die.
True.
So I don't know. It's silly to me that when Biden was in power, the left were all about, oh, he's so healthy and strong, great leader of America. And now that he's gone, they're like, oh, Trump is bad. He's evil. He's crooked. He's going to die soon. So it's just the hypocrisy on both sides.
And isn't Biden older? Yeah, Biden's 82 and Trump is 79, I believe.
Yeah.
If not,
at least 80, I think.
He might have turned 80 this year. Yeah, he turned 79.
Okay.
So
I was off then.
Biden's 3 years older, but all that to say, oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure that made Biden the oldest that was ever a president. But
well, how old was Reagan when he got out of office? I know he was. That was the same thing they said about Ronald Reagan in the 80s. Like he was super old and
I think he's probably the oldest at the time.
Yeah.
But I saw something that said like Trump the oldest ever, but I think it was the oldest ever on his second term is the thing for Trump. But
yeah, because he skipped 4 years too.
But the oldest ever, was Biden, because nobody has been even 80 yet and been president. So. Yeah, so it's just like, even if he died a little bit earlier, it's not like Biden's not about to go, you know?
Right. I mean, these politicians, a lot of people think that the politicians they hate are going to die soon and hope they die soon. So I worry that most people want Trump to die because it shows their lack of civility toward another human being. Now, I understand that politicians are evil and crooked and evil and liars and thieves and murderers and all that, but, wishing for someone's death when it's your least favorite authoritarian in chief, when you're not wishing for someone's death when they're your least favorite or whatever I'm trying to say here, is just hypocrisy at its finest.
I think it's just it's harder for me to want any politician dead than it is for me to be a little happy when I see the cop died. And the reason is that a cop is out there doing the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
A politician is just making orders.
A cop is definitely carrying a gun. They got the shiny badges and the costumes, and they're the active threat. The politicians are the passive ones.
Yeah, but the pen is mightier than the sword. Somebody is putting to paper the marching orders in order for the police to do what they do. So you know what I mean? These guys didn't just wake up one morning and be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go put on a...
It's not mightier because it wouldn't happen without the people doing the doing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but the idea has to come from the police officer.
I know that's
didn't just
the originating
wake up and get out
place. But honestly, these police officers, the fact that they will do something like this tells me they would just be murderers or regular gang members if they weren't being told by the government what to do. They would just be doing other crimes. It's like, yes, it's the originating blame, and I don't think the politicians have no blame. Starts with politicians, but I just think that the most blame should go to the person doing the doing, because literally, what does the word might even mean? It's like using force to activate something in your will, using physical force to make something you will happen in real life. And that's what the cops are doing. The politicians, while absolutely evil, and it's like, I don't think Riley's actually like defending them, and I'm not either. It's almost like more like you have to be really callous to just like want anyone to die at all, and it's kind of concerning how wanton people are with it. But the worst people, like child molesters, you care a lot less. Like, you're like, oh yeah, well, he's a child molester. Like, honestly, I don't think there's one child molester on the planet that anyone is like, yeah, but I wouldn't want him to die. Like, we shouldn't want people to die. Like, I don't know, maybe some people are like that, but it's less likely. You know what I mean? And it just gets less and less powerful as, like, you know, like the pencil pusher at a court. They're doing things that harm people. They're like bringing charges against people. But the idea of wanting them to die and be happy and like tweeting about how happy you are is like kind of insane, because it's just one degree further and further out.
Yes.
But then if you got arrested by a cop personally, I feel like you'd hate him more than you hated the judge who signed the warrant, even though I hate them too. I don't know.
I think a lot of people have this love for the police. In fact, I saw a news story this week about a military, or not a military parade, but an honorific parade for a dead cop in Utah that spanned a few blocks. And it's like, you know, why are they holding a parade for a dead man who's wearing a costume and a badge? It's like, why respect these people at all? They're not doing anything. Up
traffic.
They're not doing anything significant. The people believe they're keeping us safe, but they're not keeping us safe at all. They're carrying guns. They're the ones allowed to carry guns in leftist utopia, and they're the only ones allowed to enforce the rules of a gang of thugs calling itself government.
And I really think that the reason that they have these like big, like you said, honorific parades, because I've seen it before too, where they're having a cop funeral and it's this big, huge deal, is because they're reinforcing their cult group like strength. They want people to want to be cops. They want people to be like proud to be cops and not turn against each other, and so therefore they have to make it like, oh, this is a cushy, nice thing.
It's hero worship at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's exaltation for sure. Like almost like it's almost on the same level of I hate to draw this comparison, but with like it's martyrdom almost to like the dogma. Like it's the same thing as as like an extremist Muslim blowing himself up who's venerated by his community, right? Because they put on the parades for those guys. They put them on, I not t-shirts, but but
turbans.
Yeah, I guess print their face on turbans. That's probably haram somehow, but but they do idolize those guys, in the same way that we do here. And effectively, it's doing the same thing. It's reinforcing the dogma, the ideology of the present regime.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that it is a martyrdom thing, because whenever they die in the line of duty, even when you find out it was something like wimpy and dumb, they make it like a big deal, like they were died being taking care of the whole community, and it's such an honorable thing.
It's really not an honorable thing at all. I mean, well, taking care of a community is an honorable thing, but it's not because it's a police officer doing the honorific thing. It's because, like Angela said, it's the cult.
And it's like when a plumber dies, they probably did a lot of great things for their community. You know what I mean?
They did, but they're not going to get an honorific parade. They're not going to have bagpipes at their funerals.
They're not going to be. We're not going to be able to stop the whole downtown for 40 minutes or whatever. So yeah, that kind of stuff always irritates me. If I'm ever stopped in traffic for a cop, I'd start to be really just evil, to be honest.
That makes me think of a story just on police and how their own gang in North Andover in Massachusetts, just right over, not too far away, a female police officer was just killed by 3 of her fellow department peers. I guess they went over to serve paperwork on some sort of restraining order. Mm-hmm. And she ended up, they said there was a firearm involved, and she was shot. This is, North Andover. This is pretty recently too. I saw this on, I think Instagram, but that's just, and the police department hasn't really released anything. There probably isn't. Body cams are probably off. This sounds more like a Like probably like a gang hit because she saw something she shouldn't have.
Yeah, the cops in Massachusetts are notoriously corrupt. Not that they're not all notoriously corrupt, but there's just like crazy things that come out there. It feels like it's like the mob still exists.
This is because the mob has just gone legit. Mm-hmm. They all just went and got elected, and
become police officers.
Yeah, put all their money into more legal means. The mob never left. They just decided, they were just like, yeah, we can't beat them. Join them. Let's get elected. Let's go be councilmen and they started. It's the same thing the Irish did. Is they became the police officers and the constables and got into like low level elected positions and now and works their way up. It's just the same thing.
And in Massachusetts, it was like the biggest settlers were like the Italians and Irish.
Yeah,
like
which are two of the biggest mob
people
mobs in the world. Well, at the time, they've all been crippled with RICO and going legit.
The biggest thing that's been a story in Massachusetts as far as cop corruption in the last few years has been this Karen Reed, I think is her name, case, where this woman was the girlfriend of a cop and he ends up being killed and they charged her, but she just got out of jail even though she served some time because she had like a not quite a hung jury, like a...
Is this the one where they like backed out of the driveway?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That's crazy.
And really what it seems like is happening...
They set her up as the fall guy, 100%.
Yeah, that the other cops killed that cop, so they needed someone to blame and they blamed his girlfriend. Yeah, that's what it seems like to me.
Well, I thought that was his wife.
Or wife,
his girlfriend?
I don't know. Whichever. Honestly, it's like play stupid games, aka date a cop, win stupid prizes, get beat by said cop.
Yes.
Or killed or sent to jail.
Or framed for murder.
Yeah,
like he didn't do anything to her. This is even almost more malicious, right? This is just like guilt by association. She was just there at the wrong place in the wrong time.
Oh yeah, I just meant in general, like date a cop. Do I feel that bad for you?
Yeah.
I think you're already risking.
If she was asking for him to get arrested for being beat, I might agree. But she's getting framed for murder by not her police boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. No, she doesn't deserve to be in jail. It's just a simple case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
FAFO.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up that Trump is not dead because I don't know if we actually got into the story. I didn't really click on any of the stories about it, but basically what happened was that Trump had like some bruising on his hand and he had no events coming up in the last few days or in the next few days, like this weekend. He had no events scheduled and he hadn't been seen in a certain amount of time, like a certain amount of hours, and so people started being like, wait, is he dead? Like he's never not scheduled. Never. It hasn't been that long since it hasn't. There hadn't been a time, I guess, during his presidency that he went that long without being seen. And so people were like, well, maybe he's dead. But nope, he was seen today.
How many weeks did Biden hide out in his underground bunker in Delaware? Yeah. Didn't that go on for months at a time and nobody would see or hear of him? And
well, you got to be hiding with Biden, it sounds like.
When I did I fly back down with my little brother or did I fly up? I don't remember right now, but I was in the airport with my little brother and we landed in DC and he was 11 at the time. And I was like, the White House is somewhere down there, or maybe we could actually see it. I don't remember now. And he was like, and Biden is in there dead. I was like, what? And he was like, that's what I heard, that Biden is dead in there. And at the time he hadn't been seen in a while.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roblox talk with a bunch of 11-year-olds squawking.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy that he heard that or whatever.
Well, it's almost like they're getting the twinks on Twitter, I guess. Was it just because there was a bunch of gay guys or like...
Yeah, but I don't know. That's just the first thing that popped up.
Okay.
And the only post I personally saw was Lady Gaga stan, so...
It's like a QAnon level. Do we have a name for the QAnon side of the left yet? They need to get a catchy term.
Yes, they really do. I think it's funny that the QAnon, the left QAnon, or whatever you want to call these people, are having their favorite pipe dream about Donald Trump dying, and we're going to get emergency alerts and things like that. We're going to celebrate in the streets because it's going to be so wonderful when he dies.
See, it's crazy that the right is so dominant culturally online that we can't even think of a name for the left version of QAnon. We can't even put a name to it. We just call it the left-wing version of this right-wing thing on online.
The left-wing conspiracy theorists are out in force.
When I'm Googling it, there was actually a Reddit post somebody making the same question, like, what is the left-wing version of MAGA/QAnon/Patriot Front? And people are saying, like, Antifa, but I guess that's a good answer for Patriot Front, because it's, like, feds that are dressed up and going and doing protests in the streets. But it's not really a good enough answer for the QAnon of the left, in my opinion.
Yeah, what's the juxtaposition to the sweaty Karen sitting in, like, a suburban household sharing QAnon Facebook post every 40 seconds. I guess you just call him a Redditor.
Probably.
Is that just call him
my mouse is moving. So
okay.
I'm not sure if somebody doesn't know that we're doing the show right now, but yeah. So anyways, yeah, that kind of messed with my brain. I'm like trying to read something. I was like, is it really moving? So, and then I couldn't remember the word mouse. But,
I wonder if we're being hacked.
I don't know.
Okay.
But anyways.
It's the Redditors.
Well, no, I have people that that have the ability to do that. I just didn't, they should know that I'm doing the show. So it kind of confused my brain for a second.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how the left thought that Trump was dead. Well, it's not just the left. I'm sure like multiple people thought he might have been dead. Like when I was going to sleep last night, I was like, oh, it'd be crazy if I wake up and the news is that Trump died. But it's not like I really believed it though. I just thought it was totally a possibility. But yeah, I don't think that there's really a big influential and organized group like QAnon. Well, not that they were like organized, but there was like a couple people behind it or whatever. You know, like what I'm trying to say is like a group. Like, I don't know how many people were behind QAnon. I don't think anyone knows. But this answer on Reddit says that Sophie from Mars, maybe that's a YouTuber or something, did a fantastic video essay on left-wing conspiracy theories a while ago. And they highly recommend it. They say they are nowhere near as influential as the QAnon, etc., but you have people leak Caleb Maupin and Peter Coffin, who consider themselves communists, stand for Russia and China, and pretty much believe CIA is behind everyone who subtweets something rude to them. That's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
And one thing about that that I've noticed is that I have seen a few people with these pretty dumb conspiracy theories about how, like, all of a sudden I can't remember his name. Lenin, right? The leader during the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah. Yes, that would be Vladimir Lenin.
Okay, yeah. That he was actually like a good guy trying to do good things, and I've seen people argue that on the internet, and it's just like, I could almost see where they're coming from as far as like that the CIA was trying to go after them, and that's like suspicious and stuff, as in like, yeah, the CIA wants to stop them, but how could you not see that doesn't make them automatically good? And that's like such a weak conspiracy theory.
Well, no, it's also because it's the natural progression of the revolution is always to us an iron-fisted Stalin figure, right? So you need somebody who's hip and young, a Lenin-like character, a Mamdani character, you know, a young, hip, good-looking guy that spouts a lot of good stuff, right? And that's what lures everybody in, right? Because it looks great on paper, and this guy seems like a great guy, and he wants to do great things. But the revolution always has to kill him at the end to install an iron-fisted person to maintain its power, right? Because the issue with revolutions is that it almost poisons itself from the inside because it finds enemies and detractors everywhere. If you don't agree with this, well, then you're a detractor of the revolution, and that comes with, you know, Stalin's movement into power and his execution of so many leaders within the Soviet regime was because they were, you know, they disagreed, and if you disagreed, you were a threat to the revolution. Right? So it always leads to a Stalinist iron-fisted it's pretty fascistic, right? Because I look at it's more of a circle than a line, right? It just that's just that's the evolution. It always turns into that, and it's the same thing that happened in France, right? America is like lucky that George Washington didn't take the crown, right?
America's very lucky.
Yeah, that's the only reason we didn't go through the same things, is because he didn't want to become king, right? And it was just that one guy not wanting wanting the crown that changed the course of America. Because even after
not wanting to be
George
king?
Washington, because even after the French Revolution, there's this huge power vacuum, and all the governments they put in were fickle and had no power because everybody was so afraid. And then they started eating each other alive, and that power vacuum is what allowed Napoleon Bonaparte to rise and claim himself emperor of the world, and kind of rule with more of an iron fist. That's just the natural progression of these types of revolutions.
It reminds me of Animal Farm, where the farmers were kicked off the farm by the animals, and the pigs took charge and said, "We're going to rule, but it's going to be for the animals. All animals are going to be fed and taken care of." And all of a sudden, they started changing the rules and guidelines, and then over time, they had to have enemies somewhere, so they had the pig named Squealer, who was the enemy.
Yeah, he had been kicked out previously.
Yes.
And they would say, "Oh, Squealer came by last night and ate you guys' food. That's why there's less food in the
Exactly.
buckets."
And, they made up the numbers, they fudged the numbers, they made it look like everyone was prospering, but no one wanted to see anything behind the curtain because they didn't really want to see the truth. They wanted to believe the lie that we're prospering, everything's great, Comrade Napoleon is always right. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the book, the farmers and the pigs were both standing on two legs,
wearing
drinking
clothes,
alcohol together. Yes, and wearing clothes.
All the things that were against the rules for the other pigs.
Exactly.
It's rules
4 legs
for
good,
but
2 legs bad. and the truth is, it's all just a lie. Government is nothing more than a lie. It doesn't matter which ism you want to subscribe to, communism, socialism, fascism, any kind of ism that directs you to think of power is the biggest lie perpetuated by people in authority. They don't want to keep you safe. They want to destroy your life.
Yep. Well said, Riley. And I don't really think that there's any good leftist conspiracy theories. I could just see that they want to make money, and they see the righty conspiracy theorists doing it. That's honestly my opinion, but obviously I don't have proof of that. More Free Talk Live is coming up. 603-283-6160. Bring up whatever's on your mind. More Free Talk Live coming up.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card. And the sign-up bonus? Enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Brussels, I'm William Denslow. The UK, France and Germany are taking steps to restore sanctions on Iran over its nuclear programme. Ollie Barrett reports from London.
The so-called E3 grouping of Britain, France and Germany have written to the United Nations Security Council, triggering a so-called snapback mechanism. This means they believe Iran has significantly failed to fulfill commitments made in the 2015 international nuclear deal. The Security Council now has 30 days to decide whether sanctions relief should lapse. Tehran says there's no legal jurisdiction for reactivation and says it's ready to resume negotiations on its nuclear program. The US has backed the E3 move after bombing Iran's nuclear sites in June. Western powers fear Tehran's nuclear program is a threat to international peace and security and doubt Iran's claims it's for civilian purposes only.
The French President and German Chancellor are chairing a meeting on Friday of the Franco-German Council in the French Mediterranean city of Toulon. There will also be a separate meeting devoted to defence and security issues, as Ross Cullen reports.
This is the 25th meeting of the cabinets of the EU's two biggest economies, and the main topic of conversation will be bilateral issues, which had foundered slightly when Friedrich Merz's predecessor as Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, was in office. There will also be trade discussions in the context of the EU's contentious commercial deal with the United States, and defence and security will come up in the talks as well, after the Russian attack on Kiev on Thursday, which Emmanuel Macron described as barbarous, and after the German Chancellor's comments also on Thursday saying that, quote, it is obviously not going to come to a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin, a major expression of doubt about the possibility of a bilateral peace summit from one of the EU's key leaders.
Chinese President Xi Jinping will be flanked by leaders of some of the world's most heavily sanctioned nations, Russia, North Korea, Iran and Myanmar, at a military parade next week in Beijing. Laura Westbrook has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un will attend a military parade on September 3rd, marking the end of World War II after Japan's formal surrender. It will be the first time they have appeared in public alongside Chinese President Xi Jinping. The last time a North Korean leader attended a military parade in China was in 1959. Russia counts Beijing as a strategic partner. It's been hit by multiple rounds of Western sanctions imposed after its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, while North Korea's economy depends heavily on China, which provides almost 90% of food imports.
And the gunman who killed 2 children inside a Catholic school church in the US city of Minneapolis reportedly visited the site in the weeks before the shooting to plan the attack. 17 children and adults were injured. 1 child remains in a critical condition. The shooter took his life at the scene. From bureaus worldwide, this is F.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and that means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And I'd like to thank Corey for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Corey went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks again to Corey and everyone who supports us. And again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. So thank you again to Corey for supporting us here at Free Talk Live. We really do appreciate everyone who does. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley.
Angelo.
And we do already have a caller on the line. In the last segment, we were talking about how Twitter thought that Trump was dead, but he came out and he's alive today. His health is under question, though. So we can talk more about that. But we do have a caller on the line, and you guys get to choose what we talk about when you call 603-283-6160. So, Sarah in New Mexico, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind, Sarah?
Yes. I was running around and talking to Albuquerque voters about our mayoral election. And one of them guys that I talked to, he said, every time we get a new guy, you vote for a better so-called different mayor, it always usually turns out worse. And we both agreed. You're right. You know what? You think that it's going to be better than what you had, and it's worse than what you have.
So have you thought about not having the position of mayor at all and just governing yourself?
Well, this is the way that our city government is set up. You have your own reality, but our city has what you call a strong mayor, and other cities have a weak mayor. Mm-hmm. So supposedly, so having a strong mayor, like a weak mayor, is like you're like a vice president. You just show up to break a tide.
Yeah.
It's the counselors. Is that what it is? So, but in a large city like this, like over 500,000 people, like what is it? Like 500,000 people, you got to have a strong mayor because you have to make like real fast executive decisions. You can't be yo-yoing around like in smaller towns. So that's what we have. And, you know, I really think that we voted for a new mayor. But, you know, the thing is that with an incumbent, you pretty much know what they're about. You pretty much know what you're going to get. And it's kind of safer that way because every time that we went for somebody new, like Mayor Barry, we had like 5 red light cameras. He got rid of all of them. We had a cable access channel. It disappeared with him and nobody cares about it. You know, this public access channel, we had a channel 27 and half of them was religious. With the CAO, the Chief Administrative Officer, he got rid of it. And then nobody cares about it. Nobody's fighting to bring it back.
Why do you think that is?
About the cable access channel?
Yeah, why do you think no one cares about the cable access channel?
I have no idea. But what we got in replaces that, we have a free Christian channel instead now that people donate to, non-profit. But maybe people have to pay for cable, and most people don't pay for cable. Maybe that went out.
That's
maybe
one possibility.
People, aren't they getting their, like, watching their news and other stuff on, like, podcast with you guys, or all this computer stuff? I don't know. And that was an important channel, and then he got rid of it because they did not like the content of like how to fight the court. They had shows about how to get out of a ticket, how to appeal, and they just wanted to shut all that down. And they even had a show about the 9/11 was all planned out by the CIA, and they shut him up, huh? What do you think about that?
Just laughing. That's cool.
I love that people are questioning 9/11.
Do you like all this? Like, they had a show about anti-war, and they were a veteran. They had other half of the show was like anti-government.
Absolutely,
like,
that's my favorite kind of content.
Honestly, I've never watched anything on public access.
That's kind of how it is. If you fill in the time slot, you can pretty much talk about whatever you want.
Yeah,
you can sign up on like.
I'm a little confused about how she's saying. Sorry, how she's saying like her mayor got rid of it, because how do you get rid of it?
Yeah, they cut the funding.
Oh, okay. So like,
so it was public access because it was paid for by taxpayers. But
okay, but isn't
you can
that
put
like
on your own?
You can just like, as long as you can access that channel, I thought anyone can put it up.
Well, but it has to be like sure, if you were like streaming, that could work out. But this is like, it's TV, so there's like, you know, there's
But correct me if I'm wrong, Riley, do you know anything about what I'm talking about? Like, I thought there was just like maybe public access is the wrong one of what I'm talking about. It's like UHF, right? Isn't UHF the same thing?
I think UHF definitely is something similar to public access, and I think public access is just community content that's driven by, you know, members of the community, and is funded by politicians because they want to get messages out. And it's just easier to have politicians fund it than having fundraisers.
Yeah.
You're right, Riley. Riley, it's like somewhat similar, but UHF is not entirely public access. It says it includes a wide range of frequencies, and amateur people can go and get on it, but the public access is basically just like one that the town puts out for themselves, I guess.
Yeah, and the reason why it's done...
Sometimes they use UHF.
The reason why governments fund it is so it can be commercial free, because if it was funded by, you know, advertising and things like that, there would be commercials. Now, that's not to say that the community can't fund such public access things. They've just gotten so lazy that they want a politician to do it for them, or they allow the politicians to steal money from their neighbors so they can get the content they want. And if you really want the content you want, you should pay for it yourself.
And just make a UHF channel.
Yeah, or you know, make it yourself.
Well, I think at this point, anyways, is like everybody's moving away from TV, period. Right?
Yeah,
Why are we funding a TV channel most of the people who watch TV like that are going to be dead within the next 20, 30 years.
Well, weirdly enough, I think last week we kind of had this conversation where we brought up UHF because I was saying that I was talking to somebody about how it's important to me to keep like radio in general great again or whatever, like we were talking about with that caller who said he's the best radio caller of all time. Just because it's like if the grid goes down tomorrow, you can get radio back up. Can't get podcasts back up.
We can't
yourself.
Radio is a really important medium for us to use because, like you said, we can plug in a radio and just turn it on, and we don't have to worry about downloading something. We don't have to worry about finding an app to run. We don't have to worry about connecting to a cell phone network. We just grab a box that has an antenna, tune it into the right frequencies.
Obsessed with and passionate about pirate radio.
I agree with Ian on this. I'm passionate about pirate radio too. You should set up your own tower and stream Free Talk Live just because it's a really important show.
Some people do.
Well, but I'm going to tell you that the regular and the UFH, that channel that you're talking about, now we have a nonprofit television station, and it's donator funded. So that people have to pledge. It's not taxpayer funded, but it's like, I guess people that donate to this nonprofit, they could write it off on their taxes.
Awesome.
But
that's pretty cool.
Okay.
So then eventually, you've just fixed your own problem. You're saying that the channel still exists, but now it's funded through donations. I mean, is it still running like the same programming? It sounds like
no, it's a completely different name. So it's actually called Christian Channel 4 TV. So they have a 21.5 out of New Mexico, but that has just came about in the last year, and I've seen local pastors and ministries interviewed on God Answers Prayers Gap show, and that is new because they yanked out that cable channel 27 because 50% of those shows were ministry shows. The churches had access to half of their shows, talk about the ministry, and now it's gone. So what they have to do is they have to get private funding, but it's for a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit Christian channel, and I'm so happy that they have it. But I'm sure that if you donate money, you could get a receipt and write it off on your taxes, whether it if you want it or not. But still, they have something for like Christians to put on their church shows, and they do let different organizations or what they're doing, like prison ministry or like Halfway House Christian, they could be on and have us put on a show, and so. It's important, but none of that is paid for by the city or the state. And the last mayor did it. You know what I mean? And then nobody knows about it. Nobody's angry about it. And I am very perplexed. And I was thinking about it. And
it's probably because they weren't watching it, to be honest.
Yeah, but why would you want your city government to fund religious messaging?
Meanwhile, it's been proven that they can do it themselves.
Yeah, if they have a channel and they can do it themselves, why would you want your city government to spend taxpayer dollars funding the religious messaging instead of making better pedestrian walkways in Albuquerque?
But you know, I used to put on shows about bus system and about the train system, that they take all the people that want to produce shows. And my bus show was so popular, people asked to replay it like 30, 50 times. They're like, can you play that bus show that so-and-so did? So I did not know that my show got played 50 times. And then some of that shows that I filmed where I got played in grants. People have saw me doing my local community show. We did a show about raising wages, state level, city level. A lot of the other shows were about community things that was going on in state of New Mexico, things that people really need. And I talked a lot about the homeless issues. I had young homeless people be on our show with us, talking about their plea. And then, 20 years later, we got a young homeless shelter being built right now. So it's like they get to stay for 3 months, but it's all under 25 to 18 years old. And they work with a social worker, but it takes, like, I put on that show, and then I invited all the homeless young people to put on this show about 20 years ago to have the results now. But it is not just only for people that want to have religious shows. The other half were, they hate the government, they're exploding lies, but other people like me, we were advocating for things that we need as a community. So it was an important show.
Well, I'm just saying, the medium itself is dying out. Like 20 years ago, people are going to hear about these things from a TikTok film of some 19-year-old guy standing on the street with a microphone and a cell phone interviewing young homeless people, right? And that's how that messaging is getting out. And that's not paid for by the city government. I get what you're saying, and that you were able to get your messaging out and have a lot of people see it enough to want to watch it 50 times. But just the medium itself is going by the wayside. Like, it's all streaming, it's YouTube, it's live TV. The TV cable in general is on the out. So I don't think it's necessarily part of it might have been that they're anti-government, but I think a lot of it is it's just not it's a sinking cost that the government just didn't want to use anymore.
Well, then a lot of things is that stuff that the city and the state do not want to spend money on poor homeless teenagers and young people. They do not want to put money for public transportation. They don't want to build women-only day shelter program. That's all money dumped out on poor people. They don't want to give money to the poor people. So they want to shut the station down, because it's they don't want to build a rail runner all the way down to Las Cruces del Paso. They want to build it all the way to Colorado, Denver, Colorado. It's like there's people, there's corporations that fight all this. Like, for example, like petroleum oil companies.
I'm a little confused, Sarah. I'm a little confused about how this relates.
Right?
Sorry, how this relates to the channel. Like, because you were advocating for those things on the channel. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we had shows about, so not all the channels were religious. Not all the channels were about how not to pay your ticket. Not all. But there's still elements of that channel where the city and the state, people in power, they only want to do for the wealthy. They don't want to hear.
I could honestly kind of see where you're coming from, Sarah, and it's a leftist conspiracy theory, but I could honestly kind of believe that the government in Albuquerque shut down these UFC or public access things because too many people were talking about whatever they wanted to and getting out whatever information they wanted, and it wasn't just everyone getting their information from the journalists who work for the major newspapers in Albuquerque and whatever else approved places they get their news. So, I mean, I could see it being true. I don't know if it's specifically just those exact issues you care about, but, things like it, I could kind of see them just wanting to crack down even harder, because I think that's kind of what's important about non-controlled media, like things like radio and even like podcasts in their own way, that aren't as controlled as the big CBS, MBS, NBC, all that stuff. Like the government
Legacy
definitely
media.
Yeah, the government doesn't want you getting news or ideas from other places. And with social media, they're able to at least like keep your posts from going viral if they're too like
edgy, have the wrong keywords in them.
Yep. And your videos and stuff on YouTube, like you can't really make a video on YouTube anymore saying like anything that
like child pornography. You can't talk about child pornography on YouTube.
What do you mean?
No, you can't even use the words.
Yeah, you can't use the word child pornography.
No, you have to use
call
like
child porn or adult or
like
something crazy.
Yeah.
It's just the absurdity. It's just censorship all over again. People are saying, "Oh, we're not being censored on YouTube or TikTok."
I guess it's just that I was trying to think of like a conspiracy theory they don't want us to know about, and then you're just like child pornography.
You can't say kill on YouTube.
Like
you have
TikTok
to say unalive.
Yeah.
Kids are using the word unalive unironically. They don't use the word killed. They go unalived, like
people
deadpan.
Have to say that, but like people have to say that like it's like a problem. But the thing is, like, they're saying it because they have to for like TikTok and stuff.
Well, that's what but now that they're using it outside of the phone to use for the same word, right? Like, instead of saying, "Oh, I got killed in Fortnite, Dad, I'm upset," they run in, "Dad, I got unalived on Fortnite," and you're sitting there 40 with a coffee, having a stroke, trying to understand what he just said.
I think that's fun.
Yeah,
I think that's funny.
Yeah. So my bus show was really popular because we knew that people that rode the bus, there's tens of thousands that ride it all day long for to get a job, to go to school, for doctor's appointment, to go grocery shopping, to do laundry. And on the television channel, they would say, "Oh, we don't have any people ride the bus. Only the drug addict and the drunks ride the bus." They would actually just come out right out and put out lies. And so that's why my television show was really important, to say that, people really rely on public transportation to the point where we got it for free. But but you guys understand.
You always have to remind Sarah that it's not free. You're still paying for it. Well, people are still paying for it. Maybe not you, Sarah.
Well, but so at least we got that Christian channel. I don't know how they run out of funding if people stop donating, and that's going to disappear. But I guess the Christian people, it's like, we really got to have a Christian channel, even if we have to pay money for it. I guess it's going to keep going. But
we'll have to pay money for it anyways. It's cable.
It is not cable. It's on a regular.
Oh, so this is like on an antenna then? This is an antenna
USC,
channel?
I don't know how they do it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so they have to, it's a non-profit Christian channel. It's a non-profit. But they told me it's just a TV channel. It's not a church. So it's a different.
Huh. Oh, interesting. Wow. So they don't have any physical church. Wow.
They don't have a physical church, and they are welcoming all of the church, big, small, out of state, whatever. If you have your church, you want to put a show about your church, what your ministry is doing, you're allowed to do so. Or how you became a pastor, they'll take you in. So that's good. I don't know. So I just hope that they could keep it going, because we don't have any. I mean, only thing we got a TVN and the Victory Channel. And I was told that Victory Channel is only going to be put on the computer now. I guess they ran out of funding. They can't put it on the antenna.
Interesting.
Kenneth Copeland,
I don't know. I don't know that I believe those people are about to run out of funding. They're pretty
Kenneth Copeland could just sell his jet and then have enough funding for an antenna broadcast station, probably for the next 15, 20 years.
If he really wanted to.
Maybe put all of his next book sales towards it.
If God wants him to, shouldn't God be able to provide it?
Exactly.
Thank you for the call, Sarah. Actually, pretty interesting topic, because for one thing, we asked about who are the leftist conspiracy theorists and what are they talking about, and Sarah kind of called in as a leftist conspiracy theorist. But for her, it's the government doesn't want to give us more stuff. That's probably what most leftist conspiracy theory ends up at. Don't you think?
I think the big thing...
Yeah, it all boils down to we need to increase taxes.
Yeah.
I think the big thing, too, that's fascinating is that she's talking about public access channels going away, and that's definitely the environment we're in, is where public access channels are going away because people aren't interested in public access or community channels as much as they were back in the day.
Or TV, period.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't know anybody under 45 who watches TV regularly. I know people who watch shows. I know people who
on streaming mostly.
Yeah, they stream it on Hulu and Netflix and Peacock and Amazon Prime and HBO Max and whatever. You're paying the same amount that you were for cable, but that's not what we're talking about. I don't know anybody who watches television. Even my 93-year-old great grandma has quit watching television because there's just nothing to watch anymore. It's not good.
Wow.
I guess you can put on Turner Classic Movies only so much until you've seen all the classic movies, right? So just the and these are the big channels. They don't have it. Family Guy is keeping TBS afloat,
What does your great grandma do for entertainment?
Well, she used to read a lot. She's actually kind of in a crisis right now because her eyes are going. She's getting like big splotches in her vision, like her retinas are deteriorating.
Wow.
I don't know what the exact term for. She gets shots in her eyes. They put a needle in her eye to like slow it down. So
macular degeneration.
Macular degeneration. That is the word. So she's. We've had to get her like extra large print Bible. She's a staunch Lutheran German woman from Canada.
Okay.
She grew up speaking German until she was 5 to like first generation immigrants. She grew up without any water, like running water. They had an outhouse. They grew up on an orchard farm, and she was born in the 30s. So, and she grew up like it was 1870.
Maybe for someone like that, like radio Christian programming is fine.
She loves radio. She used to set up Rush Limbaugh. Every day, and we had multiple stereos set up throughout the house, all set to the same station. So as she did her cleaning throughout the house, she could have a different radio in each room, all playing the same station, so she wouldn't miss anything.
I actually cleaned a house like that when I was cleaning houses in Texas, where there were these 2 old people. And they like basically just sat in the same place every time I was there. But if I went into different rooms, it was playing their same Christian radio station in all of the rooms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess they did move around. I just never saw them doing it, honestly.
Yeah, I grew up listening to talk radio. That's all I had in the car was talk
that's what
radio.
I grew up listening to as well. I grew up listening to talk radio. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, and now George Norrie. So I've listened to all the big names in talk radio, and I'm glad I found Free Talk Live because it's really refreshing to have a libertarian show on the radio instead of just a left-right talk paradigm.
I remember Paul Harvey, and the rest of the story.
Yep, exactly.
My dad listened to like Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage and
Michael Savage.
Mike Huckabee, or his last name?
Mike Reagan, maybe?
No.
I heard a lot of what's his one? Savage.
More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
They gently kind of hang on to it or manipulate it with their mouths. The pufferfish then releases toxins that seem to intoxicate the dolphins.
He's getting high. Apparently, there's legislation in India to consider dolphins to be non-human persons. Would dolphins be subject to arrest for getting intoxicated?
How else could they deal with this threat to the dolphins?
Obviously, there's disorderly conduct and public intoxication.
I bet they'll resist arrest too.
Because dolphins don't really have hands. And they're going to fight you, and a dolphin will rape you.
Think of the money for the prison industrial complex here. I mean, they'll have to build whole new underwater prisons for the dolphins. This could be big.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week saw a showdown between the U.S. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook and U.S. President Donald Trump. He tried to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud, leading her to sue the president and set up a court date. All of it could change the course of the Federal Reserve's independence in the future. FSN's Tony Waterman was monitoring developments from Washington.
In the 24-page court filing, Cook's attorneys argue that there isn't proper cause for her firing, saying it is based on nothing more than a social media posting. One of President Trump's deputies accused Cook of lying on mortgage applications on social media earlier this month, but she has not been formally investigated or charged. Cook's removal would be unprecedented and allow Trump to appoint another governor to the Fed board, perhaps one more in line with his demands that the central bank cut interest rates. Tony Waterman, Washington.
There was also a showdown in Washington this week over vaccines, putting the US's top health agency at the center of a political firestorm. The Centers for Disease Control and Protection's director was fired at the urging of the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy. As Ira Spitzer reports.
Susan Moneris had been on the job for less than a month before she was dismissed after refusing Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s demands to fire senior health officials and endorse vaccine recommendations that she said defied science. The next day, 3 top CDC leaders resigned in protest and were escorted from the agency's headquarters. The showdown has alarmed lawmakers in both parties and raised fears among health experts that political pressure is hollowing out the agency meant to defend Americans in the next health crisis.
This week, a gunman killed 2 children aged 8 and 10 at a Catholic school in the U.S. city of Minneapolis while the children were taking part in Mass. It happened on the first week of school. The shooter took his own life at the scene. The European Union this week said the deaths of 5 journalists killed in an Israeli airstrike was completely unacceptable. At least 20 people were killed in the attack on Nasser Hospital in Gaza. All of that came as the Israeli military ramped up plans to seize and occupy Gaza City. They declared it a combat zone on Friday. Ever since Blake Sifton sent this report from Tel Aviv.
The Israeli military says it is halting daily pauses in fighting in Gaza City and has declared it a dangerous combat zone as operations to seize the city intensify. The pauses were put in place by the Israeli military in recent weeks following pressure by the international community to get more food into Gaza and saw fighting stop for 10 hours daily to allow for the distribution of aid. Meanwhile, the Israeli government has announced that the bodies of 2 hostages held in Gaza have been recovered by the military. There are now 48 Israeli hostages remaining in Gaza, 20 of whom are believed to be alive.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, the UK government summoned the Russian ambassador after further airstrikes killed at least 23 people in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Ever since Stuart Smith has more from London.
The British Council is a UK cultural institution whose offices in Kiev were severely damaged and a security guard working there hospitalised. European Union offices in Kiev were also damaged. It's the biggest attack on Ukraine since Russia's President Putin landed in Alaska to meet US President Donald Trump. Ukraine's foreign minister posited that whatever Putin said in Alaska, his real actions reject diplomacy, dialogue and peace efforts. The UK Foreign Office summoned Russia's ambassador to London on Thursday, where it was repeatedly made clear to the Russians that such actions will only harden UK and Western resolve to support Ukraine and bring an end to this unjustified war.
A federal judge this week temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia for a second time after he was wrongfully removed to El Salvador earlier this year. His attorneys have criticised government officials for rearresting him on Monday and for their intention to deport him to Uganda. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report from Washington.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia's freedom lasted less than 72 hours. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested him at a required check-in in Baltimore, a first step in the Trump administration's plan to deport him to Uganda, potentially before he faces trial on human smuggling charges. A federal judge in Maryland has temporarily blocked his deportation pending a further hearing. He's currently at a detention centre in Virginia.
And that's the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
A local grandmother is beginning to realize that her family never even looked for a better nursing home. A man leaves a father-daughter dance with a different girl than he came with, and an earthquake late warning system goes off in Haiti. Watch as yet another precious fraction of your life passes mercilessly in front of your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Shortly after discovering he had locked himself outside of his suburban home Thursday, fully nude claims adjuster David Ronzo delivered a moving and thought-provoking treatise on the frailty of the human condition to a slowly gathering crowd of his neighbors. Ronzo, who initially panicked when he realized he was naked, soon turned and faced confused passersby and delivered a stirring oration on the grim facts of mortality, along with the indomitable nature of the human spirit. In other news, a man is arrested for stealing over $50,000 worth of beards from Hank Williams Jr. A pretty lady is playing hard to follow, and a dog named Murph lives up to his name. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. And that means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever's on your mind. Bring up whatever you want to talk about. You can change the subject. That's the point of Free Talk Live. It's up to you, whatever you want to talk about. And if you're tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites, our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. That's social.freetalklive.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley.
Angelo.
And we already have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go to the unscreened caller. Unscreened caller on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Authority is
evil.
Real. And it's not.
It's absolutely evil.
For?
No,
what
dude, authority is absolutely
parents?
evil because it's
Riley,
controlling.
we have to think. Wait, we have to think. Because is there any such thing as rightful authority?
If you're an expert on something, sure.
Right. That's what I'd say.
That's an appeal to authority fallacy, though.
No. Like, if somebody's going to teach you to, like, fly a plane, then they're
an
the
authority on flying a plane.
So that's why I just wouldn't necessarily say, even just any authority inherently evil, you know?
Okay.
But I do like that you beat them to it.
The authority comes from objective value. Objective value allows people to more effectively plan for others.
The problem with Skeeter is that he thinks that people
individuals
can just have
this one thing in.
Authority over others like entire lives for no reason, except for he thinks it's objective because of, like, evolution chooses it, whatever he's going to say.
So the danger is with individual planning is that individuals often do not consider how their actions affect others.
So we got to force people to behave. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's why.
Why do you think that's a good idea?
That's why the town of Grafton got
why do you think that's a good idea to force people to behave?
Right?
The actual authorities said that did not happen. Did you hear me? The actual authorities said that did not happen.
I'm not even.
This is the leftist conspiracy theorist. Speaking of one.
Huh? How do you think Grafton got taken over by bears?
It didn't.
I already said to you, the actual authorities, the Woods, I don't know what they're called, like the people who...
Forest Rangers, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. They said that did not happen.
Do you think...
There was just some bear sightings, like there always is.
Do you think orchestras work better without a conductor? Do you think a corporation would run more efficiently without the board of directors coordinating?
Than governments and individuals.
They're voluntary groups of people because nobody is saying that there should be no voluntary groups. No one is saying that. The problem is that somebody wants to create these groups involuntarily and force people to be bent to their will.
I shouldn't have Skeeter's preferences.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Me.
Parents
from his
do
basement.
that for their kids. Parents often do that to their kids. Now, the thing that makes Market Central Planning, the thing that
the thing about parents is there becomes an actual objective reality where there is a person who is formed and has reached adulthood versus the person that they love that does not have that information in their head yet, and in fact sometimes is like 2 feet tall. So there is actual objective something you can point to that gives them the authority over this other person. I actually believe in the authority of parents. It just dissolves over time. It's not like you just have to live under the authority of your parent for all eternity, even when you're a fully developed adult. We call that like abuse.
Well, I would call it abuse.
You can't define when that transition begins.
Yep, exactly, and that's the great thing about it, because there is no one exact magic hour. Did you just cuss? Did he just cuss?
I can tell.
Wait, I don't even.
I didn't cuss.
Okay, kind of sounded like you said you effing. And now I guess it'd be too late for me to dump anyway.
No.
I hope you didn't.
Anyways, well,
at least
I forgot my point now. I was going to address about... So why do even the parents can't sometimes make bad decisions for the kids? Someone needs to step in. How do you decide when that happens?
I don't. I don't worry about it. I don't waste my time worrying about it. I don't care.
So the parent wants to prostitute their kid and the kid agrees. What happens?
The thing is that there are things that need to be figured out by in exact. I'm not going to talk to somebody who just like laughs when when somebody else is making a point. It's so stupid. It's seriously just like, I don't even like talking to people who like don't even want to actually have a conversation. Like, he just wants to say things that he thinks are gotcha, not listen to the response, and go like make a stupid laugh from his literal mom's basement, mind you. Like, he doesn't have anything to show for the whole worldview he holds. Anyways, what I was going to say was the thing about like, when should someone step in? The fact that there's not just someone who sits around like, I'm the authority who decides when someone steps in, is so much less evil than if we just said this person, like Angelo. Angelo is the one, he decides everything and when a child's allowed to start holding a knife inside everybody's houses, and he gets to go in there and like watch everything the parents do. That would be objectively authority is necessary. But no, it's actually just that it's not objective, because it is case by case things. Like, for example, somebody might think it's so inappropriate for a 18-year-old or a 17-year-old to get married with their parents' permission. And the next person might be like, what are you talking about? My 17-year-old is ready to get married. They wanted it, so I approved it. You know, because like in most states, like you probably have to get signed off for 17, whatever, make it 16 if you have to. Like, some people will find that like abhorrent. And the other thing is, it's case by case, because who knows the kid better than the parent?
Yeah, well, and then everybody develops at different rates.
Exactly.
Like, at staggering different rates. You know how many kids showed up to 8th grade from 7th grade being 6'2" with pimples on their face, like being high school sized boys. And then some kids stayed 4 feet tall until we were 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and then they got to college and they grew a foot.
So obviously one size fits all doesn't work it doesn't work effectively in society. We need different approaches for different people.
Well, and that's why they had those caveats in the law for the first place, that the parents could sign off on it. They said, hey, they took a number, 18, and they said, generally this will be the number, but parents can sign off at an earlier age if they feel like their kids are mature enough to take on this kind of responsibility. Like, you can get emancipated before 18. Like, that's an option.
We have a caller that calls in and tells a story, a lot of like leaving the house at like 14 or 15, I don't remember, getting a job.
Yeah, I know a lot of my friends' parents did that too. Just because of where I grew up was just a ton of addiction. So they're kind of forced out of the house at those ages. But they survived. They went and got a job.
And is it better for them than sitting around with their mom on crack or whatever?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure
they were leaving terrible situations.
I'm sure when they realize that they're mature enough to be like, I don't want to be in this situation, they can emancipate themselves.
And they should be able to. Like, no authority, like one authority named by Skeeter should be sitting around being able to be like, nope, everyone has to be 15, sorry, or 18 or whatever. So, yeah, it's just like a ridiculous conversation to have with Skeeter, because he like doesn't want to hear any nuance. If you make any like good point to him, he just pretends you didn't and moves on and just like screams gotcha. It's like, it's horrible radio. I would hate listening to the calls. And in fact, somebody actually complained to me that the worst thing about Skeeter calls is just like everybody talking at once. But the thing is, like, if you just shut up and let Skeeter talk the whole time, he just, like, thinks he's making a point and then goes on and then makes another thing that's, like, a jump and he calls it a point and then goes on.
He uses a bunch of non sequiturs.
Yes.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they're absolutely abhorrent.
They're very
And it's very
abhorrent.
cyclical. He talks in circles. Like, one point leads into the next point, leads into the next point, which leads me back to my first point. But there's no end to it. It's like... it's almost like there's.
I know where it ends. It ends with him living in his parents' basement with no girlfriend.
Yeah, it's like every time he tries to go outside, he ends up back in his mom's basement. Skeeter's got to touch grass.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Seriously.
Touch more grass, Skeeter.
And the idea that like the government, the heads of the government, are anything like a conductor in an orchestra. It's nothing like that, because all you're doing is basically telling a whole bunch of people who, don't want to play the certain instruments, they're going to play this one anyway, and they're going to do this, instead of letting people in smaller groups voluntarily form, doing the things that they love and are best at.
Like being forced to go to band practice, and you don't even play an instrument.
Exactly. And everybody doing the same one, like all of 330 million Americans being part of the same orchestra when we shouldn't be.
And that's the thing about orchestras. They're voluntary. People are coming together voluntarily. Say, we want to create music together. And so they're going to say, well, this guy knows what he's doing, or this woman knows what she's doing when it comes to this music. So we'll say, hey, since you know what you're doing with this music, how about you show us how to do it and lead us in creating this music together. We'll follow your lead. And they're doing it voluntarily. I'm not forcing my preferences of musical instruments on Angelo or Bonnie, and they're not doing the same to me. We're not coming together for an orchestra either. So the thing is, orchestras and governments are not equivalent to each other.
Well, and the head of an orchestra, the magistrate, isn't that their name? I think.
Conductor?
The conductor. He isn't the best musician.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? He's not you know what I mean? His violinist.
He might not even play it.
Yeah, he might just only play the piano.
Mm-hmm.
Like being a conductor suddenly doesn't mean you're just the best musician out of the bunch. The only thing it means is that you can keep time the best and swish your hands.
That's a really good point.
Or you wrote the piece of music and you're having these other people
masters at their crafts
perform your piece of music. You might not even be the best musician in the room. You're just the one who's at the head of this project.
So I'm thinking about Friedrich Bastiat, who wrote The Law and That Which Is Seen and Unseen. And one thing that he brings up in his works is that politicians are not made from finer clay than the average person. So to think that you are going to be ruled by a politician and they're going to be the finer clay and they're going to make you be good is absurd to the extreme.
That's a really good point. And it's just like, he says that they're objectively, I guess the word is like superior.
No, they're not.
But what does he have to point to for that? And honestly, what what a government has created a society that we can point to that's like, oh, perfection. That's what God wants, according to Skeeter, because like he uses the word evolution for basically the word God. We do have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go to the phones. Turd Ferguson in Pennsylvania, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, you knew who I was when I called, but you didn't know who Skeeter was. How do you do that exactly?
Because his just said Los Angeles, and I did honestly assume it was Skeeter, but sometimes I've been like, okay, I think this is Skeeter, and that's not, so I just basically say unscreened caller.
Oh, I see, okay.
Because if I save his number, he'll just call from another one. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that makes sense, okay. So, yeah, I was gonna agree with you. I agree with you guys, actually. About that. Yeah, like Skeeter was talking about all this nonsense, and then you're like, no, a child should be able to emancipate herself, and I agree with that. If a 16-year-old wants to emancipate herself from her parents, and then I can legally have sex with her.
I knew you were going to say that, because I was like, why are you saying she? Go ahead.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's my point. Don't you love it, dude?
I actually don't really know that follows. I mean, as far as legalese, like, I don't know if somebody is, like, not legally allowed to have sex according to their age. Just because they got emancipated, I don't think that changes. I think you'd still have to, like, marry them.
Yeah, well, that's... Oh, wait a minute. So I can marry the 16-year-old and then legally have sex with her. Is that what you're saying?
I'm pretty dang sure that is the case.
I think it's probably state by state basis. You know, why would I want to make laws for California? I don't live in California, dude. They can figure it out for themselves.
And why would it have to be a 16-year-old?
You're right. It should be a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old.
They don't want you. Honestly,
that's kind of
it's just
creepy.
like you're getting creepier and creepier all the time on purpose, I think. So, boring conversation. That's what he's been doing. What do you guys have more to say to him?
14's like I don't know.
Yeah,
A 14-year-old can't.
Too young.
I think the issue is you have to be able to provide for yourself, and a 14-year-old doesn't have the mental. Most 14-year-olds, I would say 95% of them aren't old enough or mature. Not old enough is the wrong word. Mature enough mentally and to take on that kind of responsibility of having a job and paying rent and showing up to work every day. A 14-year-old, most 14-year-olds, still play with action figures.
Like, I think that is a really good thing to measure. It's like, what if you like, when are you ready to have sex? Well, are you ready to get pregnant and then like your spouse leave you or die? Like, to be able to take care of that baby all on your own and not just be like, well, I'm going to have this baby, but I'm also like going to be taken care of by the man that got me pregnant, so I don't care. Like, well,
no, exactly.
You should be able to rely on
for like a 14-year-old boy, like, I don't think I'm thinking a 14-year-old boy is not going to show up to the mill every day at 6 a.m.
No,
not anymore.
But a 16-year-old.
But the thing is, a 14-year-old would have had to show up to the mill.
Yeah, if it was in 1900
or something. Yeah, 1900.
I think we've infantilized. Modern 14-year-olds, right? Because we've infantilized our children by a lot. Which is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I think it eliminates a lot of trauma. I think people back then lived through a lot of trauma at an early age, whether it be like physical, mental, emotional, and that just ages you faster.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
And you have to take on more mature.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that, people were like, well, we need to have our children enjoy childhood more, which is actually a good thing. But at some point, we've gotten to the point where we should be like, oh, well, children should enjoy their childhood until they're 25 or when their brain stops developing. And that to me is way too far.
That is way too far. I also learned, I guess I'm going to say, but I guess it's not necessarily like that I know it for a fact, in a YouTube video about the, the Institute in England, the Tavistock Institute, that the British invasion, when it happened, when all the singers and the Beatles came over, that around that time, the Tavistock Institute came up with the first use of the word teenager.
Interesting.
And that we didn't call that.
Well, it's because it didn't exist
then.
Before the 1950s, and no, the kids didn't have to go work on the farm all day. As soon as they were 15, 16, you're a man now. Get on the tractor or the horse or the plow. Hop on the plow. You're big enough. Because it literally used to be you're a child until you're old enough to control the horses with the plow, and now you're a man. That was the jump was as soon as you were big enough to do the man's work, you were considered a man. And teenagers in the 50s didn't have to. Like, you can't follow your dad to the office.
They already invented washing machines. Yeah, so as far as women, you didn't have to be working from the time you wake up to keep the house going. They all had a lot less work
time
to do. Yeah, and the moms were able to drink wine all day, but I think back then it was actually pills. But I could be wrong. I think it was pills.
It was both. They took a bunch of benzos and drank wine.
And they did opium. That's crazy.
Yeah, powder boxes. I'm going to go powder my nose used to be just slamming cocaine. It wasn't just, it wasn't makeup in the 20s,
Oh, man.
Before they illegalized everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that all that timing does add up. I could be wrong about the actual, maybe that YouTube video I watched wasn't right because it was a conspiracy.
No, it's correct. Yeah, teenagers, the idea of the teenager was a 50s. That's when the surfing, it's not the Beach Boys, but the whole California teenager in the 50s on the beach, let's go have fun in the summer, almost like Dazed and Confused.
Beach Boys sounds right.
Yeah. So that whole thing was a new phenomena. That wasn't around pre World War II.
They're yeah, we don't have to work. Our parents make enough money, and we
have nothing
value
to do.
Education more, a little bit, for at least for longer. So everybody is just in school, and then when they're not, they're hanging out.
Yeah. Let's all drive giant V8 Mustangs and party on the weekends. And
I think the one thing that is a problem with it, because it's I don't think everything about what we're describing is really awful. The one thing that really is a problem with it is it became mandatory and a one size fits all thing. Now you're you literally can get brought into court because your kids are truant. Instead of my kid's not in school because he wanted to start working,
Well, but that's why we had summer vacations to begin with. Summer vacation wasn't for you to go. My grandpa pounded this into my head when I was a kid, because I would want to have fun during the summer. And he said, no, that's not what summer's for. Summer is so you can go do the hardest work on your family's farm. And that was the trade-off that the rural Americans made with the government back then, was to send their kids to school, was that we need them in the busiest parts of the year. So the schools and the government said, okay, we'll give them the 3 months off in the summer so they can go work the farm. And that's why summer vacation exists. It doesn't exist for you to go to Disneyland or have fun or take a break from school. It was literally so your parents' farm didn't go under. It was just more work. It wasn't supposed to be fun. Like my summer vacations, I went camping sometimes, but it was a lot of work. That's what I did during summer vacations, because it was just, you weren't in school, you weren't out of life, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
And as we moved away from agrarian societies and moved toward, living in a concrete jungle, aka cities, we've lost touch with nature. We've lost touch with working hard on a farm to build character and things like that. And so summer vacations are now used for play instead of work.
Well, even into the 50s and 60s and 70s, the people still had sustenance gardens. They still grew like their own oregano and thyme and basil and small little things, maybe a tomato plant. Like, people still had small gardens.
Yes.
Which post the 50s, not everything was bought from the grocery store. But
I always hear stories of like girls being like, "Oh, and I made so many clothes this summer for my," like they would be like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like that actually was productive. I know that like my summers, the whole time I was a kid, were like watching Hannah Montana, eating fruit roll-ups, being really lazy, and then my dad coming home from work being like, "Why has nobody done anything all day?" Because like I do think it was like in our minds, we're supposed to be doing nothing. It's just a break for 3 months. Yeah. Like other than, like playing outside.
There's 104 days of summer vacation.
Exactly. I was literally thinking, maybe Phineas and Ferb was like.
No, exactly. Yeah. Shout out Phineas and Ferb, dude. I don't care.
While I was saying
Perry's the man. I know. Actually, I think the real main character, the real hero of that entire thing is Dr. Doofenshmirtz. I mean, that guy had the worst life. And
he was funnier.
He was still there for his daughter. He still loved his family.
Oh my gosh! Did you ever watch Phineas and Ferb, Riley? Or
I never did, but my siblings did. I was off doing my other things, and
yeah, you might have been older by then.
Candace is the original left-wing conspiracy theorist.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she's always trying to find out what her boyfriend's doing
or
brother's doing. Anyways, yeah. So I can see that being definitely the case. That's like definitely give me like bad habits as an adult.
Well, but yeah, it is brainwashing. It's been normalized, but is it normalized, or is it just the way what comes with the free time is teenagers getting in trouble? Like, I keep thinking about going back to movies like Dazed and Confused, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like those coming of age 80s movies where it is literally just teenagers doing madhouse stuff. And then I think it was social conditioning, because it's infantilization. If we can get these kids to be children until they're 25, then all they're going to want to do is get handouts from the government, because nobody wants to go to work. And then we're going to vote in this system of give me that. And that's just because everybody's infantilized. It's an infantilized. I think it is systematic.
I completely agree, and
not that it's bad. I think it's good to a point, but we've totally taken it to But that's what we do with everything. That's what everything that was good gets corrupted to the point where it's not.
And that's what I always come back to. Me and Nikki used to say this on the show all the time. It's like ultimately we come to some conclusion and then realize the real answer is always like balance. Like, it's not like one or the other, it's like balance.
Life is nothing but balance.
Oh yeah.
603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait
now.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you're scared me.
What am I being detained for? You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
From Feature Story News in Brussels, I'm William Denslow. The UK, France and Germany are taking steps to restore sanctions on Iran over its nuclear programme. Ollie Barrett reports from London.
The so-called E3 grouping of Britain, France and Germany have written to the United Nations Security Council, triggering a so-called snapback mechanism. This means they believe Iran has significantly failed to fulfill commitments made in the 2015 international nuclear deal. The Security Council now has 30 days to decide whether sanctions relief should lapse. Tehran says there's no legal jurisdiction for reactivation and says it's ready to resume negotiations on its nuclear program. The US has backed the E3 move after bombing Iran's nuclear sites in June. Western powers fear Tehran's nuclear program is a threat to international peace and security and doubt Iran's claims it's for civilian purposes only.
The French President and German Chancellor are chairing a meeting on Friday of the Franco-German Council in the French Mediterranean city of Toulon. There will also be a separate meeting devoted to defence and security issues, as Ross Cullen reports.
This is the 25th meeting of the cabinets of the EU's two biggest economies, and the main topic of conversation will be bilateral issues, which had foundered slightly when Friedrich Merz's predecessor as Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, was in office. There will also be trade discussions in the context of the EU's contentious commercial deal with the United States, and defence and security will come up in the talks as well, after the Russian attack on Kiev on Thursday, which Emmanuel Macron described as barbarous, and after the German Chancellor's comments also on Thursday saying that, quote, "It is obviously not going to come to a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin," a major expression of doubt about the possibility of a bilateral peace summit from one of the EU's key leaders.
Chinese President Xi Jinping will be flanked by leaders of some of the world's most heavily sanctioned nations, Russia, North Korea, Iran and Myanmar, at a military parade next week in Beijing. Laura Westbrook has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un will attend a military parade on September 3rd, marking the end of World War II after Japan's formal surrender. It will be the first time they have appeared in public alongside Chinese President Xi Jinping. The last time a North Korean leader attended a military parade in China was in 1959. Russia counts Beijing as a strategic partner. It's been hit by multiple rounds of Western sanctions imposed after its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, while North Korea's economy depends heavily on China, which provides almost 90% of food imports.
And the gunman who killed 2 children inside a Catholic school church in the US city of Minneapolis reportedly visited the site in the weeks before the shooting to plan the attack. 17 children and adults were injured. 1 child remains in a critical condition. The shooter took his life at the scene. From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. That means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Riley,
Angelo.
And one thing that we definitely wanted to talk about tonight, it's been a big thing in the news, and honestly, a lot of the times, like Ian has said this before, talking about mass shootings on Free Talk Live feels a little like pointless. It's like, oh, we're not here just to report like what's going on. Like, I want to talk about stuff that I can make points about, but this is about another mass shooting in a gun-free zone, and it's about the bigger conversation about
how did a gun
zones.
get in a gun-free zone?
Wait, what? Oh,
yeah,
I
wasn't
see.
the sign supposed to stop violence?
Yeah, isn't the gun-free zone supposed to protect people?
Yeah, you're right. How did that happen? It's not even possible.
It's almost like somebody picked a gun up and took it there.
Yeah.
Well, how could that possibly be the case? Why did the sign? Isn't that why we put them up?
It did happen again, and it's happened many, many times.
And I hope people realize that a gun-free zone isn't going to prevent mass shootings, because when you realize that, you should start carrying a gun.
Well, that's what happened in Indiana. I want to shout out Indiana. 2 weeks after they passed their legislation for concealed carry, that 19-year-old legally carrying a pistol stopped a mass shooter in a mall. This was back like 2022.
Yeah, I kind of remember this one.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks after they got it passed. A lot of my friends worked on that campaign, door knocking and calling folks to get that legislation pushed through.
Nice.
So it was a big win to see that, and in 2 weeks lives were saved. That's how it was almost like an overnight thing that you being able to defend yourself.
And the thing is, like, maybe it would have happened exactly the same way, but that boy didn't go to jail.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I don't
illegally
think
carrying.
He wasn't the type of kid to be carrying it if it wouldn't have been legal. This was like a buttoned up kid. He wasn't the type of guy to be carrying a gun if it was not legal for him to have it. So this was like a upstanding, law-abiding citizen legally carrying his firearm.
Wait, how can he be a law-abiding citizen when there's so many laws on the books?
Well,
that's what I want to know.
A law-abiding carrier. I guess he was obeying firearms laws.
Okay.
For the area he lived in.
That is a really great story that happened like right after that.
Yeah, right after it happened, and he dropped him from like 40 yards, like double tapped him. Great job.
I do remember this because people kept talking about how impressive the shot was.
Yeah, he's shout out, dude.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
No, I don't either. I'll look it up right now.
I think that's the nice thing about being able to conceal carry or openly carry a gun is that if someone tries to shoot you or your friends or ends up trying to shoot up a mall, you'll be able to hopefully step in and stop it. That may not be true for every case, but I would rather have a good guy with a gun rather than a bunch of crazies with guns trying to, shoot up a church.
It looks like Elijah Dickin. That's his name.
Nice. Shout out Elijah Dickin.
Yep, he's out there.
That's good.
Man, I was going to make a pun about his last name, but you guys get it.
Just remember FCC friendly.
Yeah.
So, the thing about why we're bringing it up tonight is because there was another mass shooting, and it did happen in a gun-free zone. So John R. Lott Jr. and Thomas Massie wrote this article for Wall Street Journal Opinion.
A reputable news source.
Another mass shooting in a gun-free zone. Speaking of like Wall Street Journal being a reputable news source, did you guys remember hearing that story that Trump started suing them, or he started a lawsuit, like he sued them because of them publishing a story saying that Trump gave Epstein a birthday card where he said something like lewd.
Oh, he wrote a picture too, I think, of like a terribly drawn naked. It looked like the drawing looked like a special needs 4-year-old drew it. It was not a good drawing at all.
I didn't see the drawing, but the thing about it was that they put that article out. Trump initiated a lawsuit. And then what happened was Ian was waiting for it to come in the mail because he gets Wall Street Journal in prison. But they talked about it on the air, and like the other media talked about it on the TV. That's how we heard about it. But he never got it in his paper articles. So they put it on the internet, but they just took it out of their paper newspapers that day because Trump started suing them. Isn't that like ridiculous?
That is really ridiculous. Like, publish it in the paper. Hit Trump where it hurts. If he's so upset by it, he can get over his stuff.
Yeah, unless you know you're lying and you're going to get sued, but...
Yeah.
No, that sounds like they probably knew they were lying. Because it wasn't signed Donald Trump. It was a crude drawing, and then there was a name
But what's
Donald.
weird about the crude drawing is it was like the exact style of different drawings he's drawn in his books that Ian happened to just know because he just read the book called Never Give Up.
So Donald Trump is just bad at drawing? He's that bad at drawing?
Well, I think it's just like that he's simplistic. Like when he draws like New York City, it's just like outlines of, rectangles.
I mean, this isn't even like an outline. This is like a stick figure.
I didn't see it,
It's
honestly.
really bad drawing. It's it looks, you almost can't even tell it's a naked woman.
I mean, I'm not a good drawer.
I'm not either, come to think of it.
It's like a stick figure with like circles that are too low. Like on it. It's not a good drawing.
Okay.
Well, either way, it was like a similar style because it's not just being like really simplistic, but also like a thick black marker That's like exactly how he's drawn things. And what else is weird is he said, like, I've never wrote a picture in my life, which is weird. A weird way to say that. And then it's just not true, because in his book, Never Give Up, it's like, oh, and here's the picture I drew for like something that he sold. He like drew some picture and sold it for charity. And it's in the book, and it's like a similar style. So
interesting.
But then again, if I wanted to frame Trump as drawing something, maybe I would draw it in the style he wanted. So, you know, I'm not saying it's absolutely true that he drew it. Whatever. I don't know. He's also in pictures with Epstein, so it's not that surprising if he did.
Yeah, I wrote him a birthday card.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's almost nitpicky. And for them to retract so fast, there had to be something fishy about the story. If they weren't afraid to go all the way, like if you weren't afraid of court, you know, if it was true and you can prove that it's true, well, then let them sue you so you can make a, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to lose any money.
Yeah. But then again, like, also if you're facing a lawsuit, it's like you might lose just because the other people win. Like, not really because it's untrue.
True. Yeah, that's true. The courts
I don't know why I said
corrupt.
because it's the other people win. I meant just because, I don't know, the other people have better lawyers or whatever. Well, anyways, I just thought that was interesting. Riley called a reputable news source, and
exactly
just made me think about that. I don't really know that it makes it less or more reputable. Whatever. Like, all I know is they withheld news because they got threatened.
I think all legacy media is corrupt at some level.
Yeah. I would have to agree with that at some level, most likely. So it was written by John R. Lott Jr., who I don't know who that is, and Thomas Massey, who we do know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
What state's he from, Riley? Do you know?
I want to say Kentucky.
Yeah, I know. I always want to say Kentucky, but I'm like, is that just Oh wait, yeah, Massey. Duh, yes, he is Kentucky. I'm like mixing up Massey and Justin Amash. The one I never remember where he's from is Amash. Do you guys know where he's from?
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know where Amash is from, but Thomas Massey is Kentucky. So the Minneapolis killer made the point in his manifesto, and actually my friend told me about this today. She was going through reading it. I didn't read the manifesto or try to crack any of the code, because basically he wrote in English but in the Cyrillic, is that what's called Cyrillic alphabet?
See, but then I don't trust anything they say was what it was said in those. Like, I almost want to just hire somebody, because I don't have the time or the brain power to do it.
I asked my friend who reads Russian and knows the Cyrillic alphabet. I was like, hey, what does this say, Birdie? And she told me what it said, and then later when I was seeing reports, it was what she was saying.
So it was accurate. It was an accurate translation. See, I almost don't even... I'm hearing all these reports, but it keeps... I think it was the Wall Street Journal is the ones who first cracked it.
Oh.
From what I was hearing, was like that they were releasing their transcriptions of it, and I was like, well, I don't trust, like, I don't believe what they're having to say to begin with.
It wasn't really necessary to like be cracked. It wasn't like a crazy code. It was just like, oh, well, this is their letter for A. The only thing is like they have a few letters that
she was writing English in Cyrillic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So like, yeah, that's not.
But the thing is, like, it was a little bit more complicated because
I don't know, whatever they identified as. I guess they regretted transitioning. If you read the whole manifesto, it's a cobweb. It's mentally ill gobbledygook most of it.
In the video, I watched the 10-minute video. Maybe not even all of it, because it was just too like ridiculous at some point. It really feels like someone trying to portray a crazy person. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I read
if I was an actor.
Huh,
I don't know. I've been around a lot of crazy people, and that's kind of how it is. It's like they're saying everything and nothing all at once, and none of their thoughts line up. The manifesto mirrors a lot of that of the Tennessee shooter too. Like, if you just read their manifesto that was just released a year after the thing happened, it's a lot.
I can see them both being actors
nonsense.
from the same MK Ultra facility, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, for sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it is brainwashing. It's all the same.
And another thing that I think is so crazy, I had never had this pointed out before. There were multiple different shooters in different parts of the world. One was New Zealand that did this weird thing that this Minneapolis shooter did, where they took all their magazines, and before they did the crime, they wrote on them with like some kind of a white marker, like weird sayings, like some of it in Cyrillic. And some of it just like where is your God now? That's horrible stuff like that. Like, and I'm only saying horrible because like he targeted kids in a church and he was writing stuff like that. It's like so awful.
Well, yeah, that is that. No, you don't have to defend that position. That's a horrible thing to write. If especially if you're going to use it to enact violence on the innocent, that's who in a church like that is horrible. You don't have to explain that. I agree.
Well, I'm just saying, awful. I'm not saying like that's just the worst thing ever on its own, like, and that's worse than the next thing, but it's worse because of what the shooter did with the magazine after writing that. So they wrote a bunch of stuff all over it, but like a bunch of different shooters have done the same thing, and people are like, oh, look, they got the same CIA issued magazines. I was like, that looks exactly the same. What the heck?
It's really strange that mass shooters do this sort of thing, and it's really strange. Like, I don't remember when the New Zealand shooter happened, or the shooter actually went crazy.
That was the mosque, right? In the New Zealand, they used that in New Zealand to restrict all of their firearms overnight.
And I also remember they outlawed the manifesto, but Free Talk Live found a way to get a copy of it. So it wasn't outlawed for sure, but any attempt.
Well, they tried to scrub it.
Oh, of
it
course
was a mosque called Christchurch Mosque. Why is it called Christchurch?
Because the city's name is called Christchurch in New Zealand.
Oh, I was like, the mosque is called Christchurch?
Yeah, that's...
Okay, yeah, that
Does
makes
it have
sense.
a year when the shooting happened?
2019.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that, and I remember them trying to scrub the manifesto so that people wouldn't do the same thing, and yet
was this one also trans?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think this was still when it was hot to make mass shooters white nationalists, not trans. They've switched their MO.
I just think it's interesting that no matter how much you want to prevent these ideas from getting out, people are going to access the ideas, and they're going to access them through the dark web or anything like that. And so I think the solution to fixing mass shooters is better mental health.
Yeah, I almost look at it as like they target autistic young, it seems like it's young autistic coded white men that they
mess up with hormones.
Definitely the hormones, and then there's the social outcast aspect of it.
Sure.
From having a harder time socializing, just because that's part of having autism is you struggle with socialization skills, and in a really fragile time, which is like young manhood.
And they put you on SSRIs.
Yeah, and it's and a lot of those kids now. A lot of those same boys are coming out as trans right now. I've noticed there's a trend with autistic males and wanting to become trans. So like you've just switched
because you can convince them easier.
Yeah, you haven't switched. You've just switched. You haven't switched the target. The target's just changed his MO a little bit. If that makes any sense. Like it's the same. Like the Columbine shooters in 2019, 2020, they might have been trans. Trans teenagers, not these weird out socials.
Yeah, because they were just really outcast, weird boys, like probably poorer, didn't have the same like clothes that the next like popular kids had. And that nowadays can translate to now you're trans because the Reddit convinced you were, because you don't feel like...
Yeah, you felt part of the out group.
Yeah, you don't feel like, well, why don't girls like me? Maybe it's actually because I am a girl and all this stuff. Like, and the other thing is it gets you attention.
Yeah, it does.
So... This says that another mass shooter has struck, and the media is again refusing to say why he chose his target. Like other killers, he openly admitted that he sought out gun-free zones. Yet mainstream outlets refuse to acknowledge it, and thereby ignore a policy solution that could save children's lives. Like you literally mentioned the guy, Elijah, who the policy changed, and the next week he was able to save children's lives, or people's lives at least. The Annunciation Catholic school shooter in Minneapolis spelled it out in his manifesto. Quote, I recently heard a rumor that James Holmes, the Aurora Theater shooter, may have chosen venues that were gun-free zones. I would probably aim the same way. Holmes wanted to make sure his victims would be unarmed. That's why I and many others like schools so much. At least for me, I am focused on them. Adam Lanza is my reason, unquote.
Interesting.
I think it was the Aurora shooter and the Parkland shooters. Both of their fathers worked on a project together.
Well, really?
Yep.
Well.
Yep. It gets crazy. I wondered
which project did they work on together?
It was something about something. It was something to do with psychology.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's something to do with psychology. With the government. You can look more into it. I don't have a ton of details.
Crazy.
But I just know that's legit. That's for real. You can look that up. Their dads work together.
This trans one from Minneapolis.
Well, his mom ran away.
His dad worked in the CIA for 29 years.
Well,
I know.
The CIA, the biggest drug trafficker in the world.
They're just
one of the biggest terrorist organizations in the world.
Just means that
they're out in the open.
Well, but that's who those other they were doing that psychology project for the Defense Department. They were working for the CIA.
I'm not surprised.
So I mean, all of these the dads of all of these kids have worked for with the State Department at high levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, exactly.
What do you need it spelled out for you? Do you need it any more obviously spelled out for you?
And when they get this obvious, when they get this like in your face, it always scares me because it feels like it's like it doesn't even matter if you guys figure it out. Like you felt like you were maybe doing something when you figured something out in 2011. And maybe for older people, it feels to them like, yeah, but more like the 90s, Bonnie. Well, maybe that's true.
It
feels
care.
like, oh, like people are waking up. Now it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you know that like the CIA is mind controlling people to go shoot kids. They're just trying to put in your face that they're going to do it anyway.
Of course they are. They want to make sure that that you know that they are the top dogs.
Because it's part of the plan. It's all a humiliation ritual. They want to keep you scared, dejected, alone. They're trying to put you in the same headspace that their shooters are in.
That's why we were locked down in 2020.
Because
so we were scared
easier to
and alone.
manipulate you doing that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. People are easy to manipulate when they're afraid, when they're alone, when they're isolated.
Yep. And that does make the connection to the lockdowns. I'm sure lots more people were able to be convinced to do horrible things during that time, and that's why there was like more suicides. I almost felt like I couldn't say suicide because like I've been watching Twitter or TikTok too often.
Unalive yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Too many unaliving of oneself.
And I've been even on like Twitter sometimes I've been like, oh, I gotta like write the other word because I can't, and like, oh wait, no, they let you say this on Twitter. Like some things they don't let you say on Twitter, so it's like to be honest,
say them
kind of
anyway.
fair.
Who cares if they let you?
No, the thing is like
they limit your
exactly. No one will see
this
it.
X post's views have been limited, and then you're like, well, limited to who? And then it's just you, and you're like, oh,
literally, you can't say tranny.
Matter.
You can't say tranny. That's why I put TR, a trans flag, in NY.
That's crazy.
So people know what I'm saying for sure.
I've seen people use trains for it. Do you say tranny for some reason? I don't know, just because the train is
tranny. Yeah, that's funny. That's pretty funny. So it says, back to the article. Many of these attackers may be crazy, but none are stupid. They plan to die, but they want to die with attention. I mean, I don't know if I believe that it's all about attention. It's like, who wants attention, but you also kill yourself? It's like
mentally ill people.
I guess
it's a weird kind of attention.
Mentally ill people who've been brainwashed by their government to do evil things.
Yeah. I just don't think it's like the number one thing they want. Like, wouldn't it make more sense that they just want to kill people or they want suffering because they're angry?
Yeah, but they want suffering. It's directed at they hate innocence. It's a hatred for the innocence of the children, right? Because at some point in their childhood something went wrong, so now they have to take it out on these. They have to enact that pain onto somebody else's innocence. They want to strip them of because it's not just about taking out people; it's about scarring others. It's about inflicting as much pain that radiates. Because hurt people, right? And it's cyclical, and it radiates. So, like, you hurt one person, they hurt somebody else. You know how much? You know how many? What's the amount of the kids who've lived through these things that end up being pill addicts, right? Or coping horrifically and doing so much more damage to so many other people, right? Because that pain, it's almost like trickle down economics, but for trauma, right? And that's what their goal is they want to mess up as much stuff as possible.
And I could see that they like the idea of like, and when I'm dead, there will be pictures of me and people will be scared when they see them and like that kind of attention.
I'm more disgusted than scared.
Yeah.
He looks like
but that's because he can't put himself in the mind of someone that's like, yeah, he does. He can't put himself in the mind of someone who is normal and it just looks at him with contempt and he thinks it's like a powerful thing to be, you know?
Well, it's because they're angsty teenage boys.
Yeah,
that's why they're hormonal teenage boys, hormonal young men, infantilized hormonal young men who don't have any lack of third spaces. There's no outlets for these feelings.
It's because people don't go to third spaces anymore.
They don't exist. They don't exist for young men.
Yeah,
everything's been sanitized. There's boys like to bang on drums and fight and wrestle and tussle and be rough and tough, and there's nowhere for them to like do those things outside of sports. And then even then, high school sports, they're dying out in their interest. Everybody wants to stay online and play on TikTok and stay on their phones.
Interesting.
Take out their emotions on video games, but they're starting to come for those anymore. And the video games suck now. So now there's a bunch of boys who don't have anywhere to go with this. And they're all raised by single moms who don't know how to manage these teenage hormones, these teenage male hormones.
And it's like if they want to go outside and play, their parents are going to get arrested.
Yeah, they can't go out and they can't go mess around and like play, right? Because they still want to. You still want to have that time with your peers, like because you learn social skills through spending time with your peers outside in the world, and they're just not doing that.
And it's like they have more options to just be at home and be a homebody and not have to interact. They can get rid of those. They can stimulate the feeling that they want to stimulate. That socialization used to be the only way to do it.
They don't have to talk
by
to
going
girls.
On the internet.
They can watch OnlyFans.
Yep, all that.
They don't have to buy a car and fix it up to go race around town. They got Forza. They don't have to go hit the gym and work out and lift weights. They can just play Madden. They don't have to be good at football. They can be good at football online. Yeah. But even then, that space there that used to be male dominated has been invaded and eroded. So it's like now you've backed these young men even to a bigger corner than we have like in the 2000s. Because like video games aren't good. The Roblox is the biggest video game in the world right now. It's bigger than Fortnite. It's bigger than Call of Duty. And it's Roblox, but it's all played by kids. Like the games are dying. Lack of third spaces, even online. Everything's there's no. Everything is
brain
rot, and or I can't think of the word. It's the easiest word.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, it's like suppressed. Like oh my gosh, moderated. You know what I mean? You can't say there's no open communication on the internet anymore like there was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you have to say unalive.
That's so true. That's so true.
It's really sad that it's become this way because it's like society is crumbling around us and everything's becoming gray instead of black and white or even I don't know.
It's millennial gray too. Yeah. It's the worst kind of gray.
One thing that I noticed last night, I was trying to find these pictures from a crime scene because I just decided I finally want to see them because I'm so interested in this case. It's the Gypsy Rose case where she murdered her mom. It was so hard to find because everywhere where you can ask someone how do I see these was so moderated that you could barely find I made the decision for myself. I wanted to see it. I don't watch every single beheading or anything like that, and it did disturb me, but I ultimately wanted to see it because I wanted to learn. And now as an adult,
you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
You should be able to find that.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first, nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
Protection. Eleutheromania. The insatiable desire for freedom.
Filibuster. Police state.
It's the new 3-song heavy metal EP from Captain Kickass. Available now on your favorite music app or get it directly from CaptainKickass.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week saw a showdown between the US Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook and US President Donald Trump. He tried to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud, leading her to sue the president and set up a court date. All of it could change the course of the Federal Reserve's independence in the future. FSN's Tony Waterman was monitoring developments from Washington.
In the 24-page court filing, Cook's attorneys argue that there isn't proper cause for her firing, saying it is based on nothing more than a social media posting. One of President Trump's deputies accused Cook of lying on mortgage applications on social media earlier this month, but she has not been formally investigated or charged. Cook's removal would be unprecedented and allow Trump to appoint another governor to the Fed board, perhaps one more in line with his demands that the central bank cut interest rates. Tony Waterman, Washington.
There was also a showdown in Washington this week over vaccines, putting the US's top health agency at the center of a political firestorm. The Centers for Disease Control and Protection's director was fired at the urging of the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy. As Ira Spitzer reports.
Susan Moneris had been on the job for less than a month before she was dismissed after refusing Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s demands to fire senior health officials and endorse vaccine recommendations that she said defied science. The next day, 3 top CDC leaders resigned in protest and were escorted from the agency's headquarters. The showdown has alarmed lawmakers in both parties and raised fears among health experts that political pressure is hollowing out the agency meant to defend Americans in the next health crisis.
This week, a gunman killed 2 children aged 8 and 10 at a Catholic school in the U.S. city of Minneapolis while the children were taking part in Mass. It happened on the first week of school. The shooter took his own life at the scene. The European Union this week said the deaths of 5 journalists killed in an Israeli airstrike was completely unacceptable. At least 20 people were killed in the attack on Nasser Hospital in Gaza. All of that came as the Israeli military ramped up plans to seize and occupy Gaza City. They declared it a combat zone on Friday. FSN's Blake Sifton sent this report from Tel Aviv.
The Israeli military says it is halting daily pauses in fighting in Gaza City and has declared it a dangerous combat zone as operations to seize the city intensify. The pauses were put in place by the Israeli military in recent weeks following pressure by the international community to get more food into Gaza and saw fighting stop for 10 hours daily to allow for the distribution of aid. Meanwhile, the Israeli government has announced that the bodies of 2 hostages held in Gaza have been recovered by the military. There are now 48 Israeli hostages remaining in Gaza, 20 of whom are believed to be alive.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, the UK government summoned the Russian ambassador after further airstrikes killed at least 23 people in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. FSN's Stuart Smith has more from London.
The British Council is a UK cultural institution whose offices in Kiev were severely damaged and a security guard working there hospitalised. European Union offices in Kiev were also damaged. It's the biggest attack on Ukraine since Russia's President Putin landed in Alaska to meet US President Donald Trump. Ukraine's foreign minister posited that whatever Putin said in Alaska, his real actions reject diplomacy, dialogue and peace efforts. The UK Foreign Office summoned Russia's ambassador to London on Thursday, where it was repeatedly made clear to the Russians that such actions will only harden UK and Western resolve to support Ukraine and bring an end to this unjustified war.
A federal judge this week temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia for a second time after he was wrongfully removed to El Salvador earlier this year. His attorneys have criticised government officials for rearresting him on Monday and for their intention to deport him to Uganda. FSN's Kate Fisher sent this report from Washington.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia's freedom lasted less than 72 hours. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested him at a required check-in in Baltimore, a first step in the Trump administration's plan to deport him to Uganda, potentially before he faces trial on human smuggling charges. A federal judge in Maryland has temporarily blocked his deportation, pending a further hearing. He's currently at a detention centre in Virginia.
And that's the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Sony released this week the Nasal HD 340s, a brand new pair of high-quality nose buds designed to let users blast different scents into their nostrils throughout the day. The Onion let consumers across the nation sound off about their excitement for the new product.
I've always got them in my nose. At work, at the gym, on the bus, wherever. These days, I can't stop smelling tennis ball.
Retailing for $49.99, the nose buds accompany the launch of Sony's new online odor store, which sells over 22,000 different smells for download and immediate inhalation. Still, not everyone is quite as enthusiastic about the new product.
These things suck. I mean, a lot of times it only works out of the right nostril. The other day I tried smelling picnic table. It smelled more like hardwood floor. And also, to be honest, I have a really hard time breathing with these things on.
This is the Onion News Network. You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. That means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley.
Angelo.
And you can call in with whatever's on your mind. You can always change the subject. You can always tell us we're wrong. You can start a conversation about it.
Tell us we're wrong. Have a discussion with us. We love it.
Yeah, I just don't want people to think when I answer Skeeter's calls and I disagree with him and I get annoyed and hang up, it's all just because, like, he doesn't think like I think. It's not that. It's like, you can have a conversation.
He does the same call every day.
Well, there's that, but also it's like you can have a conversation without acting the way he does.
Yes.
He's just the worst. And, Turd is just trying to get grosser and grosser on the air on purpose for some reason. So that's why he got hung up on. We talked to Sarah for a long time. We don't agree with anything Sarah thinks, basically, 99% of the time. And we can have long conversations with Sarah because she's just, like, great to talk to.
She's so nice.
She does not get offended.
Sweet lady.
Yeah, I completely agree. Sarah's probably, like, if I had to meet one of the callers, I think I'd want to meet Sarah. I don't know.
She would be really sweet.
I want to meet Mr. Freud.
Yeah, I like him too.
I'd like to meet him in person.
Freud Paris.
And then David from New Mexico would be really cool to hang out with, and I wish he actually was going to move to New Hampshire, but doesn't seem like he's going to. I don't know. He was waiting on the winter. Then the winter came and gone. Now it's the end of summer.
And then it'll be winter again.
Yeah.
I love seeing the. This is going to be my first time getting to watch the leaves change all the way in New Hampshire because I've been in and out since like 2022. Hanging around, knocking doors, visiting, doing the rounds. But I'm really excited to watch all the colors change. I think it's going to be really pretty.
I would love to see the colors change.
Yeah, sorry.
At least you get to see or feel the weather change.
Yeah,
that is
it's
another wonderful part about it.
That's one thing I've noticed about here. New England especially is like when the seasons decide that it's change time,
they're changing.
It's changing. It's not like on the West Coast, like back west. It could be like 70 for a week in August, and then September hits, and then it'll be like 95 again for like 2 weeks. And
I don't count on that because there's been lots of like Indian summers while I've lived here. Like it'll be like September and it gets hot again. You're like, what the?
I was feeling back.
Fall.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I'll have to see it, but it's been really nice.
Sometimes it does in October too. Like last year, we had temp days when it got up into like mid 70s for a high.
Yeah, I just knew September back west was going to be like, especially like in California, trying to play on turf. With like plastic cleats and on plastic grass, and it's like 102 out in San Bernardino or wherever you're at, San Francisco. And it's like September 13th, and you're like, why? What is this?
In San Antonio, I remember the year that I came up here to knock on doors. That August and beginning of September was so bad. I was like not leaving my house to do Uber Eats, and I was like, I'm just trying not to spend money because I can't go out there. It was so hot, and all my friends I knew were like, it's just like I basically have been sleeping all day, and I'm like, same. It was so bad.
The worst sunburn I ever got was in Oklahoma. I got like it was so bad. I've spent days out in the sun before, like in California and stuff. So I was like, oh, I can handle this. That southern sun down there, like Oklahoma, Texas, will just boil the skin off your body. It was devastating.
It sounds brutal.
It was brutal. I like my whole back blistered up like really bad.
Yeah, I got sunburned the first year I went back.
I've never been that sunburnt in my life, and I was like, this is.
I got sun poisoning
crazy.
the first year I went back.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, that's. I don't know how. I understand why.
Or did I say blistering? I meant to say like sickness, like sun fever or whatever, like the flu. It felt like I had the flu for a day. But yeah. The thing about it is like you're closer to the equator, obviously, but the other thing is like you don't even have to be in the sun. It's like you can step outside your front door that's like over an awning. It doesn't matter because you're in a convection oven because of the humidity, and that's the worst thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
My God.
Well, it was nice. It's nice to be in Utah where I don't have to deal with humidity, but the heat is intense.
Yeah. Even in Dugway, Utah, where I lived like way north of where you lived, Riley, there were summers that was like, dang, like it's so hot. It almost doesn't matter if it's humid, but I gotta say, like I would be thinking that in the moment. But if suddenly humidity was added to that temperature, that would have been way worse.
Yes.
But there were definitely times that you were like, I absolutely can't believe that it can be this brutal while being so dry, because like you would think it's so much better.
The humidity is worse because your sweat won't cool you down. Like you get stuck in that
and just
temperature.
Like your breath, like the air you're breathing in feels nasty.
Very heavy.
Yes. Yeah. Like you're like swimming legit. I hate humidity. And this New Hampshire summer this year has been so nice because a lot of the time it's just as humid, and it was at the beginning, but then we had like all of August definitely pretty much dry.
We're talking about a drought.
Yeah, I love droughts. I love droughts. I don't care. It's like freaking.
It's nice.
Pump water in from another state. I don't care.
Yeah, it's nice to have a drought in New England, but in southern Utah or Utah, drought is a heavy concern too, and that does concern me because they can't just pump water in from another state.
Well, they do in California, so everybody should figure it out.
Yeah, they steal it all from Nevada. So I mean.
Yeah,
somebody's got to talk about the Hoover Dam. Is a contentious point and probably will be into the foreseeable future.
So is Lake Powell in Utah.
Does all that water get flowed to California too?
I think it gets sent
it's the same
to
thing in
Arizona.
Oregon, man. We flood all of the Klamath River. All of our water goes south.
Huh. Interesting.
So they don't get to keep it in the state? That's absurd.
Yeah, it all goes.
Interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a huge. We used to have a bucket. Huge bucket in Main Street in my hometown because back in the early 2000s there was a huge fight between the farmer, the water agency, and the government and the tribes over water rights, and they ended up blowing the dam, like the dike up to flood the canals. They like blew it up, and they erected the monument in honor of those guys because like
a giant bucket.
Yeah, because the idea was like if we have to, we'll sit there and bucket it into the canal, like almost like we were fighting fires, like we'll just do it by hand. But they bombed they blew up the dam.
Wow.
And flooded there, and the farmers got their water, and they just took it down in like 2020, right when they were taking out all the monuments to anybody that wasn't, considered in vogue at the moment. But they got rid of it. But yeah, that was a big thing. It's still a big thing where I grew up. Water rights, fighting for farms to have enough water for their food. Something about a sacrificial, not sacrificial, but like a religious suckerfish that's important to the tribes out there, and there's like a huge fight over water about that.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That is just like, wouldn't they want the water to go to the farm so they can be fed too?
No. The short answer, no.
Okay, that's so dumb.
That but that goes back into
I remember hearing about this water fight in the early aughts, like 2001-ish, when I heard about Klamath Falls.
That's it. Yeah, on the nail on the head, dude. That is me. Yeah, that's Klamath Falls.
I remember hearing about that.
Shout out.
I remember hearing about that on a radio talk show in Utah. A guy he wasn't in Utah, but a guy by the name of Roger Frettenberg was covering this whole story, and I remember that story.
Yeah, dude, that's me, dude. That's where I grew up, and that was. I mean, I was only like 1 year old when that happened, so I don't remember any of it.
Oh, I thought you were saying that happened like the ancient times.
No, this
like 200 years
happened
ago.
like into the year 2000, like 20 years ago. They blew up the.
I thought you were saying like you remember hearing about it.
Well, I did. I was hearing about it. I wasn't, you know. But we had this huge bucket on Main Street in front of the. I can't remember if it was City Hall or something like that. It was across the street from the courthouse. But
they took it down? That's
I drove down Main Street over the winter while we were there. And I was like, wait a second. Something's wrong. Something's missing. What is it? And I was like, the bucket's gone. Why?
That's weird.
Well, it's because they don't want to, you know. Like, we used to have a road called Dead Indian Road.
Oh, my God.
And they made a big stink about it, so we changed the name to Dead Indian Memorial Road.
Oh, my God.
So it's still like that there's that animosity. Well, Klamath County is the last place that the Native Americans were fighting the federal government. And that was like 1916. Captain Jack ran down to Northern California to fight a guerrilla war out of these lava tubes. And they held out for a while. They eventually caught him and hung him. But they were the last tribe broken on the Continental 48 were those guys. So, that's still very, very fresh in everybody's minds over there.
Yeah.
For the natives that live there, the Klamath tribes, the Modoc, Klamath, Huascan, and the the local government, that's still very fresh.
I'm sure it is. I mean, the Native Americans have gone through a lot of trauma within the last few hundred years.
Well, even them locally, they did it to themselves too, which is crazy. The government screwed them, and then they screwed themselves. They sold all of their land to logging companies, and blew all their money. So suddenly they were a people with no place to go, and the rest of the nations, the rest of the tribal, like the federal tribes, said, well, we do no longer recognize you as a native tribe. So now suddenly there are people with no land, no home, no name, no claim to any of these benefits, right? And they spent all their money they got from the logging companies, because they didn't know, they didn't really understand what they were given, right?
I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah, I heard stories, because I've talked to elders and stuff about this.
And stuff.
Well, no, they'd like buy a car, drive it till it ran out of gas, and then go buy another car, right?
Oh my God.
And this is, well, you got to think they were just fighting a guerrilla warfare in 1916, and now in the 30s and 50s, they'd suddenly have thousands of dollars. Like, they just don't, you gave too much to them too fast, right?
Yeah.
And then they got stripped of their identity completely. So there's a lot of pain and resentment.
I'm sure there is.
That's still residual there. There's still problems there to this day.
That is really crazy, really interesting. So I wrote down, like, water rights fights with the neighbors, and I meant to write natives. They are your neighbors.
Yeah, they are a native. I mean, I'm a quarter native, dude. Like, but that's just how the situation is over there.
So we were talking about, like, the weather for some reason, and that's how we got here. And honestly, I don't remember why we were talking about that, but the thing is,
I think we're talking about how we were just talking about folks from all over, and then I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be pretty here in the fall.
Yeah, I am excited for that.
Fall is my favorite time of year.
I've always been looking since the spring when the trees came back at this one tree, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the one that started turning first last year, so 2024. And it's on the exit first on this exit when I exit for Ian. I just happened to notice, I was like, whoa, that one's like completely red and everything else around it is green. And it's already started turning, and everything around it is green still. So.
Yeah, I've been noticing a lot of little red splotches on the ferns and.
The ferns.
And that's so exciting that the weather, that the seasons are coming and changing now. The trees know when it's going to be fall.
Yep. I don't know if I find it exciting because I love fall, but it's always just this like pit in my stomach that it'll be summer or winter after.
I don't mind winter too much.
I mind it too much.
Okay.
And it's just like.
Well, you picked the wrong place to end up for winter.
One thing about it is like
over northern Utah, I feel like we're sitting in the I guess you came from better. Texas after that.
Oh yeah, but I will definitely agree with you that I would choose the winter in New Hampshire over the winter in northern Utah any day.
Yeah, really? Those are vicious, yeah.
It's like, okay, it's October. Time to be gray outside 24/7.
As far as you can see up, too. Like,
yeah.
You can see the expanse.
I guess there is that, and you have the inversion that takes place, too, every year. So it's
and I lived in a valley, like a giant valley.
Yeah.
So it was just like living in a big, ugly bowl half of the year. And then like the most beautiful place I've ever lived the other half. Which
it's like
really
that in the Pacific Northwest, like there's so much these like depression in like Portland and Seattle because it's like 60% of the year it is just disgustingly gray.
And I don't believe people. Maybe that's not the nicest thing to say, but I don't understand and almost don't believe people that say like my favorite weather is rain. I just don't like it. Like I don't like it to be dark.
They just live in it 24/7. It's all you know.
Yeah,
like,
but there are people like that live in places that are sunny and they're like, but I wish it would rain. It's the best. I'm like, no, it's not. If you just don't want to go outside, close your windows and like leave the sunny weather for the rest of us and stop cursing us and jinxing us.
Don't you just want to dance in the rain?
No, not at all.
Don't you want to get kissed by Ian in the rain?
Those are
I don't think he wants to do that either.
It's art student slop is what it is. It's, I went to Juilliard for 4 years and now I want to dance in the rain, but I live in Arizona, so I'm going to complain about it.
Well, speaking of...
Those are people who live in California who want it to rain.
Speaking of school and people who live in California and vote stupid things, we were talking about school shooters in gun-free zones in the last segment, and not the weather. I mean, we talked about the weather for a while there, but that's the point of Free Talk Live. You can talk about whatever's on your mind.
We planted some, like... freedom fighting farmers in the middle of the weather.
Yeah, points in the middle of the weather. But yes, it's always exciting for New Englanders when it's about to be fall because like it's the nicest time of year. I just wish it would be fall, a week of winter where we can have Christmas and like maybe like a cold beginning of spring for what's it called, Valentine's Day, and then spring again. No 3 to 4 months of darkness and winter of death or whatever.
That'd be nice.
Death and illness, whatever it is Biden called it.
That's the give and the take. The toughest people, like the only cool places left are where you have to be tough to live. Everything else is getting overrun.
One thing people have said is that like society flourishes the best in cold climates, and there's like the most like people that invent and things like that in like Europe. And they say that the reason is that you need to develop future thinking skills if you live in a place where part of the year you can't survive unless you pickled a bunch of pickles or sauerkraut.
There's also a juxtaposition about like island laziness.
Yeah.
Is a thing where they say like if you move to the islands and like you just get lazy because there's so much abundance and there's just fruit and food everywhere all the time, and it's like you live on an island and you just kind of sit on the beach and hang out and like what's the rush, man?
Yeah, I have heard of that too. And another host, Mark, he went to go live in Saipan and he said that that's absolutely the case, and that the Filipinos that go there are like the hardest working people ever because they're like they also live on islands too in certain parts, but not
the Philippines
mostly.
Is different. It's big enough to be like a state, you know, so that you can like hike across it.
And so like they go to Saipan and get jobs, and they just are like
outwork the Saipanese,
outwork everybody because it's like, oh, well, this is so abundant, I'm making so much money here, but like tourists and stuff like that. So it's like you go there and it's a bunch of people that kind of look like they're from there working, but they're actually the Filipinos. Yeah,
Filipinos do work insanely hard. My grandpa was stationed. My uncle was born on an air base that is underwater now. The island sank. It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone.
Wow.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah,
climate change.
Yeah, I guess. But he ended up. One of his nurses when he was dying was actually born on that island too. So they had like a little connection there, and like, oh, cool. Like, that island that doesn't exist anymore. But he always said like the Filipinos, man, they just work you under the table. They're hardworking people.
Yeah, I worked with like 5 Filipinos when I worked at a hotel in Utah, and they were just the best. I love them. I love the freaking. I was trying to remember this word the other day. The little food they made that's like a egg roll, but it's not an egg roll. Whatever. Those are awesome. They're like an egg roll with noodles inside of it.
Oh, it's like a. Yeah, I got you. Spring roll, like a spring roll.
It's like a spring roll, but that's definitely not the word they would use for it, because it was just like a Filipino version of it, and it was like fried. Lumpia. There we go. Lumpia. Whatever.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those.
Those are so amazing. And every single, like, what's it called, where everybody brings food to work?
Like a potluck?
Like every single potluck, I got to eat lumpia, and those were awesome. So fun.
Yeah, that's one cool thing about working those lower tier like service jobs is that you do get to experience a lot of different culture, because there's a lot of immigrants in those kind of spaces, and I think that's one benefit of being there is you get to eat lumpia.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't eat lumpia if I didn't know these people, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point. And like living on a military base, it was like pretty diverse for that too. Like I lived in Utah, but honestly, there weren't like that many Mormons. It wasn't just like, oh, it's all the Utahns. It was like people from all over, because I lived on a military base.
Yeah, so you kind of got saved from having to deal with all that.
Sorry, Riley, but I've heard like really horror stories about like just living in a Mormon town, but you're the only non-Mormon and you get like ostracized. That sounds awful.
Yeah, that is pretty awful that it does happen. I'm sure it does happen, especially in smaller towns.
But that being said, the Mormons that I did know were awesome most of the time.
The Mormons I know were terrible at being Mormon.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they were in Utah with like the social.
Yeah, mine's were. He was one of my best friends. We were playing T-ball, and I had just started reading The Hounds of Baskerville, which for some reason has a story about Mormons in the middle of it, like the Sherlock Holmes book. And I was like, "Oh, dude, you're Mormon? How many wives you got?" And we were like 10. And he was like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I can't even get married yet." But he ended up like, he was not a good Mormon. He wasn't great at it. Most of the Mormons I did know weren't great at being Mormons.
Even in Utah, really, most of the Mormons that I did know were not like great at being Mormons either, and they'd call themselves Jack Mormons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that term.
His parents were like super into it.
It's like a Mormon who doesn't really practice Mormonism.
Yeah, I just don't know the term as in like why would it be like I've never heard of a Jack Christian or Jack anything. Like what is that supposed to mean?
Like a Jack Catholic? I haven't heard of Jack Catholic. That just sounds like an Irishman, really.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it must have an origin I've never looked up.
That doesn't really follow it.
But yeah, I've known lots of people like that in my days. But anyways, we're talking about school shootings, and we were talking about this school shooter in Minneapolis. He literally spelled it out. We read the quote. I'm not going to read the whole long quote that I read in the last segment, but he did say that he heard a rumor that James Holmes, the Aurora shooter, the one that shot up during the movie theater, and Adam Lanza both chose those places because they were gun-free zones. And he said that that definitely was why he likes schools so much, is what he said. Many of these attackers may be crazy, but none are stupid. This is from the Wall Street Journal. We have Thomas Massey and John R. Lott Jr. writing this article. Many of the attackers may be crazy, but none are stupid. They plan to die, but they want the attention. They know that the more victims they kill, the more coverage they'll get. That's why they target places where no one can fight back. I mean, like, also because they just want to kill people. Like, this specific guy only killed 2 people, but he maimed 19 more.
Yeah.
And they might die eventually, some of them.
I think part of it has to do with well, this is just a part of this article is also just to further an agenda on one side. Not that it's a bad agenda, because I totally agree with them, but he could have done this at a mall or a movie theater.
Yeah, but those are gun-free zones mostly.
Yeah, that's true.
But at church, people expect to be safe at church. People expect to have a religious experience at church, and it's more horrifying to be gunned down at a church.
I also think that he said something about having like a bad experience at a church. I mean, either that or somebody just like drew that conclusion for him.
His mom worked there. Did he not go to that church ever?
Yeah, but lots of people go to church and then they also get like rejected. They feel rejected. Like maybe they feel inside like they're gay, for example, and then they go to church and they're hearing about how gay is so evil, and then they just turn against it. But I'm not saying that's necessarily what happened in this case, but it could have even just been like, oh, maybe these people are acting high and mighty and they treated him badly, or maybe his parents are poor. Not this guy, but
I want to know why we know more about this guy in 48 hours than we know anything about Thomas Matthew Crooks.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. Don't go anywhere. The last segment of Free Talk Live coming up. 603-283-6160.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Brussels, I'm William Denslow. The UK, France and Germany are taking steps to restore sanctions on Iran over its nuclear programme. Ollie Barrett reports from London.
The so-called E3 grouping of Britain, France and Germany have written to the United Nations Security Council, triggering a so-called snapback mechanism. This means they believe Iran has significantly failed to fulfill commitments made in the 2015 international nuclear deal. The Security Council now has 30 days to decide whether sanctions relief should lapse. Tehran says there's no legal jurisdiction for reactivation and says it's ready to resume negotiations on its nuclear program. The US has backed the E3 move after bombing Iran's nuclear sites in June. Western powers fear Tehran's nuclear program is a threat to international peace and security and doubt Iran's claims it's for civilian purposes only.
The French President and German Chancellor are chairing a meeting on Friday of the Franco-German Council in the French Mediterranean city of Toulon. There will also be a separate meeting devoted to defence and security issues, as Ross Cullen reports.
This is the 25th meeting of the cabinets of the EU's two biggest economies, and the main topic of conversation will be bilateral issues, which had foundered slightly when Friedrich Merz's predecessor as Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, was in office. There will also be trade discussions in the context of the EU's contentious commercial deal with the United States, and defence and security will come up in the talks as well, after the Russian attack on Kiev on Thursday, which Emmanuel Macron described as barbarous, and after the German Chancellor's comments also on Thursday saying that, quote, it is obviously not going to come to a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin, a major expression of doubt about the possibility of a bilateral peace summit from one of the EU's key leaders.
Chinese President Xi Jinping will be flanked by leaders of some of the world's most heavily sanctioned nations, Russia, North Korea, Iran and Myanmar, at a military parade next week in Beijing. Laura Westbrook has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un will attend a military parade on September 3rd, marking the end of World War II after Japan's formal surrender. It will be the first time they have appeared in public alongside Chinese President Xi Jinping. The last time a North Korean leader attended a military parade in China was in 1959. Russia counts Beijing as a strategic partner. It's been hit by multiple rounds of Western sanctions imposed after its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, while North Korea's economy depends heavily on China, which provides almost 90% of food imports.
And the gunman who killed 2 children inside a Catholic school church in the US city of Minneapolis reportedly visited the site in the weeks before the shooting to plan the attack. 17 children and adults were injured. 1 child remains in a critical condition. The shooter took his life at the scene. From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever's on your mind. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Riley.
Angelo.
And we already have callers on the line, and I'm glad that you're not dead, David from New Mexico. David from New Mexico, you're on Free Talk Live. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Yo, Bonnie!
Yeah?
Hey! Yeah. But did I just hear you say it's Creep Talk Live, and then you said, here's David from New Mexico? Is that what you just did?
No!
I swear I heard, just like when you heard Skeeter swear, I swear I just heard you say that.
Oh, I was serious. It doesn't seem like something Skeeter would do. Like as annoying as he is, he doesn't usually.
He totally did. He said F off, Bonnie.
No, he didn't.
It
didn't even sound like he said that. It sounded like he said F-I-N-G, like, you know.
FCC. He said F-I-N-G, Bonnie.
No, we didn't.
Yes, he did.
I didn't dump ultimately because I believe that he didn't because he doesn't. That's not usually his MO.
No, he said it just like you called me a creep just now.
Okay, whatever. You're a creep, David. Yeah. Now what?
I'm glad you finally figured that out.
Oh no.
What's on your mind tonight, David?
Instead of thinking I'm all cool to hang out with, Bonnie, except for I'm never going to show up.
Bonnie, I know. I already know you're never going to show up.
Bonnie the skeptic. You don't know anything, Bonnie the skeptic.
What?
Bonnie the skeptic.
Let's wait a minute. Okay, so are you paying attention now? So have your attention.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, okay. So why am I moving to New Hampshire?
I don't know. I don't think you are.
Well, you see, there's your problem. You don't understand my motivation. Why do you think that I'm moving to Hampshire?
To get away from the people who are showing up where you live now that you don't like, the Mexicans and stuff?
That's just icing on the cake. That's just gravy. The main reason to move to New Hampshire is for the tax advantages.
Okay.
That's why I'm moving. And I made that decision before these illegals ever moved in right next to me and made my life more of a living hell than it already was. And by the way, I think the baby dropping mama dude, I think she self-deported. She hasn't been there in a month. She took off and never came back and left her 3 DACA Dreamer.
She dropped her babies? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you know how when you're a Mexican and you walk across the border and then you have a baby fall out of your vagina,
Ew.
And then that baby is there's nothing ew about vaginas, Bonnie.
I thought you were just saying that she dropped her baby, like she's holding her baby and she dropped it. I get it now.
Well, dropped it out of her vagina. You know how you're like 11 months pregnant and you're holding it in because you need an anchor baby, and so you finally get across the border and then you just let it fall out, and that way you're golden. Okay, so and more on that story lately because it worked out for her. She was living off of her anchor baby daughter for years and years and years. She managed to get her anchor baby daughter childhood disability, set for life disability.
Well, she dropped her on the ground, so.
Yeah, well, that's how that works. You got to be a smart Mexican to pull that off. And she's been living off her daughter's disability for like 20 years.
Okay,
is her daughter legitimately disabled though? Not saying that they should be on the system, but is this just like a play for the money?
Let me answer your question that way. The mother had rented a U-Haul to move some things when they moved out here, and she was letting the daughter we're talking about drive it. So is that disabled?
There are disabilities where people can still drive, though.
Well, my point is, if you're an adult, like in your early 20s, and you can function well enough to drive a 30-foot U-Haul truck, are you maybe well enough to do anything for money, Sarah?
I don't know if Sarah could drive. I think that she hates drivers too much that she would be in a state of, what's it called?
Road rage, constant road rage.
There's that, but I was trying to say, like, when you have two sides of your mind at the same time.
Cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, her cognitive dissonance wouldn't allow her to think hard enough to drive because she'd be so upset. She'd hate herself.
Well, not driving for Sarah. She could do something else, but you guys have been harping on Sarah for 15 years about that she needs to be not taking welfare and working. So that's my point. But back to me. This is all about me, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was moving there for the tax advantages, okay? And then other reasons as well. And then I also have I'm also setting up a very complicated business in the meantime, which is why I want to move to New Hampshire for the tax advantages.
Drug dealer.
Sometimes setting up very complicated corporate financial market related businesses take more than 12 months to accomplish, as well as trying to move cross country at the same time. Also, the strategic reason to be settled in a tax friendly state is moot until the business is putting its finances on paper, assets and debits, and needing the advantages of that legal protection. And that hasn't kicked in yet. And so therefore the main number one reason to move myself to New Hampshire as well as my business has not kicked in yet. So I have the luxury of time to do what I need to do on this end in a more sane manner, rather than try to move and build a business all at once. I can do one thing and then another. And yes, as things do, it took longer than expected. So instead of taking one fiscal year,
it's like so annoying. It's like David has never said anything about this to me. So it's like, oh, I'm supposed to just know that? Like, you have literally said your reason was you're just waiting for winter to end. So don't talk to me like that. It's being annoying.
That was
what you said. That was what I knew. So
I'm annoying, Bonnie. I'm annoying, Bonnie.
Yeah, you're annoying. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, okay, so are you. Deal with it, okay? I deal with you, you deal with me. Then we're good. Okay, so I'm trying to explain to you why I'm not there yet.
Yeah, in a really annoying tone that's like so old and so drawn out. It's been like 5 minutes.
Okay. So what would you like to talk about, Bonnie?
That's the point. You were supposed to call in with something to talk about. If it's just like you're complaining that I don't know how to read your mind, I don't care, and I'm going to hang up.
I just did. Yeah, okay, well then I guess we don't even need to talk anymore. I was trying to be silly about it.
Well, do you have anything you actually want to talk about, or do you want to just be annoyed?
I did want to. Oh, look at that. Look at her tell me what I'm trying to do.
What? All right, bye. It's so awful. It's seriously, like, he gets a man period for months at a time, and his calls are awful when he's on his man period. Seriously, it's disgusting and annoying. It's like, I insulted him because I pointed out that he said he was going to move to New Hampshire over a year ago after the winter, and he didn't.
Yeah, you could have just said taxes. I'm just doing it for taxes.
Yeah. Oh, Bonnie, maybe you didn't know this, but I was starting a business, and it didn't work out in time, and then it doesn't take 5 minutes of
it might have been a bit, and it just flopped.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not funny. Like, he tries to be funny, he's not. So in the last segment, we were talking about how these shooters are choosing gun-free zones, and my friend who read the manifesto of this shooter today, she specifically told me, I was like, well, what'd you learn from it? And she said one thing that was interesting was he did say that he chose it because he wanted to go to a gun-free zone. It's like, we already know that, but they usually just don't admit it. And in fact, it's just more evidence, in my opinion, of this being like a way in your an extra in your face shooting, weirdly giving us everything we already like expect. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, but that's been the MO for the past 15 years for these things.
But this one's like everything.
When was Aurora? But Aurora was everything too. That was like 2000. Batman. Yeah, The Dark Knight Rises is like 2012. Mm-hmm. That's 13 years now. It's been the same story over and over again. Because the Aurora one, was that before Sandy Hook?
No, Sandy Hook was first.
Was it? So. Mm-hmm. I guess Sandy Hook was like
2010.
No, Sandy Hook was 2012.
Was it? I thought it might have been like
no, it was 2012.
I looked it up the other day. Now I don't remember.
Both of those, I think, were in 2012.
Well, I don't know. It couldn't have been 2012 because I definitely heard about it in 9th grade, and I was not in 9th grade in 2012. But
maybe I can't really. I'm remembering things wrong.
I can't really. Okay, I got it out of my fingers. Basically, it says, "Oh, you were right, 2012." I guess I was in 10th grade.
So those were in the same year then.
So Sandy Hook was December 2012, and Aurora was July 2012. Wow.
So 6 months later.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
So I mean, yeah, all of these have had the same MO. Pretty regular. It's been a gun-free zone every time. If you want to count the really big ones, you got. Well, and then all of the small ones that they don't want to report on because they just call it gang violence and not a school shooting, even though 3 or 4 people got shot in the inner cities. But that's neither here nor there.
Did they calculate government mass killings in this at all in their calculations?
Oh, I doubt it. Like gun violence. Like you mean like when a cop goes and kills a bunch of people?
Yep.
Or just one person with a gun?
Yep.
Yeah, cops are themselves lethal weapons. And every time you get pulled over by a cop, you could get killed.
You could.
For moving the wrong direction or something. For moving your arms up too fast or something. So, anyways, in this article from the Wall Street Journal written by Thomas Massey and someone else, it says, searching media coverage, we turned up no articles mentioning that the Minneapolis killer picked a school because it was a gun-free zone. Like, that should be a pretty big deal. That's why I kind of wanted to focus on this article the most tonight. The media clearly read the passages the shooter wrote. CNN highlights his obsession with school shootings. The Washington Post describes the manifesto's reverence for other mass shooters, but instead of reporting that the killer's own words about the vulnerability of the gun-free zones, the media infers that he targeted the school because his mother was a former employee at the parish. I mean, that could be part of it, though. Like, both things could be true.
Yeah, all of those things can be happening at once. You know, what is a gun-free zone that
he knows of?
That is connected to him personally, that he feels like he can take his angst out on, that matters.
And then he knows exactly where people will be sitting in one. And which windows to go up to.
I read something about he put 2x4s in the exits of some of the to the building on one side, so like people couldn't get out as he sprayed in from the other side.
Oh my god, I did not hear that.
I don't know if that was corroborated, but that's what I heard when that first came out. So like there's extra steps, and I guess they just found like a huge cache of weapons too, or a larger cache of weapons at
that makes sense because
their residence.
All the weapons he had, I was like, he couldn't possibly carry these all himself, so is he going to have somebody else with him? But that makes sense if he just brought only a few things.
I guess what he had on him was a pistol, a shotgun, and a AR. But those were the three carried. But I guess they found more. And like, you know, I want to know what's in those journals that they said not to read. And it's letter to its family. You can still read it
or see it if you find the video.
That's just the video, but in its letter to its family. They said, please don't read my journals, P.S. or something.
Oh, that's
so I want to know what's in the rest of the writings. I want what else is going on there. This is just the stuff they wanted released.
You don't get that privilege when you go and kill children. Like even the cops, I don't care, whoever is investigating it, that's stolen the authority to do it from people who would normally be doing the same exact job, should be allowed to read the journals. In my opinion, I wouldn't be like
Well, they asked not to read the journals, but I doubt the authorities are going to release them. But I want to know what's in those. Like, how deep does this really go? And I bet some of those journals talk about maybe some MK Ultra practices, and that's just going to get buried.
Or just like his therapists in general. Which honestly, this is what I think. MK Ultra isn't like kids being brought down into sewers and like abused. It literally moved to the asylums and then to the hospitals and regular therapist offices. That's what I think.
No, 100%. They did the same thing to my little sister. My grandma had to fight tooth and nail against the Oregon mental health people. She wanted to transition when she was like 13, 12, wanted to become a boy. My grandma was like, this is ridiculous. She had to get help from some of the top psychiatrists like in the field. To like, she's just lucky she knew them. Like one of them was one of her best friends. Shout out Sharon Melnick. She had to go up there to these people and be like, hey, I'll have all of your licenses if you try to do this to this little girl.
Wow.
But now she has 2 kids, and she's doing the mom thing. So obviously she wasn't really into the boy,
well, her 13-year-old decision wasn't a permanent choice, even though she wanted to make it permanent.
She's mentally
Go figure.
Ill. She's a mentally ill person she's autistic. Wow, shocker. Bipolar, not DID, but borderline, so she has all these, she's a poster child. She's 100% one of those people who would do something like this, and my grandma had to fight tooth and nail to keep them from putting her to rock bottom. Because if they would have put her on all these hormones on top of the other mental health pills she was already on, like, who knows how bad it could have get. She regrets it at 22 and wants to go take it out on the Christian school she went to when she was a kid, right? But yeah, I think it's definitely been institutionalized. For example, yeah, she's not gonna.
Yeah.
I hope to God.
I just didn't want listeners to believe that that's what you meant.
No, but I just mean like, that that could have easily happened if the parent wasn't around to step up and be like, hey, no, this isn't going to happen.
It's like, what do people think happens when you steal something from someone that's a human right, like to go through puberty, and then they don't even have sexual attraction to anyone, and then they realize they've lost this thing called like love that everybody else gets to go through? What do they think happens when they realize that? If not like a school shooting, at least depression, maybe even unaliving. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word. Unaliving yourself.
I think that the problem is that mental health is something that has been turned into a big pharma thing where we can just, here, let's give you this pill, it'll fix you.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, sometimes you just need good cognitive behavioral therapy, or maybe you just need someone to coach you in how to live life better, how to be an adult, how to take on responsibility, how to deal with difficult times. Instead, we're told, here, give them a pill, it'll fix them.
Yep, I just watched the episode of the Dead Names file for this child named Courtney Charlie Millers. The Dead Names files, or maybe it's just called the Dead Names, is TTX Ulansic's videos that she puts out. That's just her online name. I don't know why it's that. And it's she's documenting all of these trans kids that were absolutely affirmed and kill themselves. And sometimes adults, not just kids, but and it's just that the point is that their argument is, well, you have to let children trans themselves because would you rather have a trans daughter or a dead son?
You get both.
They say that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like they'll trans themselves and then still end up killing themselves. So like it's an inconvenient truth for these people. So she has like hundreds of people that have killed themselves that she does deep dives on their stories.
Because it's way deeper than just affirming oneself. It's so much more than just changing one's appearance.
In fact, it probably has nothing to do with like being the opposite gender. It's just that's what they get told is the solution for some reason, when in reality,
so having
they're
a little
depressed.
sister, she got on Tumblr 2012, 2013, Tumblrified.
Yeah.
And that was one place they really did target a lot of people.
Yes, I always say this on the show that when I was in high school, Tumblr was convincing so many kids in my school, not really to be trans as much at the time, but it was like 2012, but it was also Texas. But it was like, they were all like, I'm depressed. They were like going to get depression medication. And some of them thought they had like crazy out there mental conditions. Like I think I'm like, well, not just like that bipolar is that out there, but things like bipolar. They just thought they had everything because they read about it online.
It was like the OG emo kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly who it was. It was all the emo kids.
Emo was earlier.
Yeah, but they were still doing the whole, I'm depressed, I have all these issues.
Yeah.
My parents just don't understand me. Dude, your parents don't understand. Parents don't understand teenagers at all. It's been like that for eons.
About like certain kids in my classes that were like this. I was like, they must have like the worst parents ever.
Nope.
And then like later it goes on, it's like, actually it seems like their parents are like,
have you seen
fine.
it's the goth kids from South Park?
I don't. Oh yeah, I kind of remember. Like they're like, so here, sweetie, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up, mom. It's not a phase. You don't get me.
Yeah. Exactly. That's so true. And it's like I feel bad to even like make fun of like children for this because it's like puberty is difficult for everyone, and sometimes you can even have like this kid Charlie. The reason I brought up Courtney Charlie Millers is that this person really did have like depression and mental health problems, but the thing was, first they just said, oh, you have ADHD, and put her on ADHD meds, and that was making her so much worse than trying to kill herself. And then they were like, well, you're just trans, and they started trying to trans this person, and then she was on a health or a psychiatric watch where she was watched every 5 minutes, and she still hung herself.
Oof.
In one of those 5-minute intervals. Wow. Yeah.
It just seems like, there may be trans people who adjust well, and there may be trans people who don't. And unfortunately, we hear about the ones that don't.
I feel like they don't want you to hear about the ones that don't. Like, I never heard about Courtney Charlie Millers on the internet or on the news,
Sure. I think that it's caught because that most people want to have a trans person that appears to be well adjusted on the outside, because it furthers the trans ideology that we got to make sure we have more trans people in the world or whatever.
And the other thing is, like, they always, whenever somebody does die and they have to admit it, because especially if they were like a big celebrity or micro internet celebrity even, they always have to put out this like, and of course it's all because the haters didn't affirm her. But it's like, you look into their lives and it's like they're affirmed by everyone that they knew.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that.
Well, it's the same thing with cyberbullying. I remember when I was in school, cyberbullying was like the biggest thing ever. You had like teenage girls unaliving themselves over like social media posts, or
Do we really have to use the word unaliving?
No. This is just me being silly.
Like ironic.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I started doing it too. It broke my brain with it.
But anyway, she we had these teenage girls or like killing themselves over social media posts, but it's also like, bro, turn your phone off.
Yeah,
you know
really.
what I mean? Like if everybody in your personal life is affirming of you, and but you're hung up on these detractors that are on your phone, turn the phone off. Like nobody's forcing you to be on Facebook.
I feel like a lot of people don't have, like, first of all, siblings. Like this one kid that went to my high school who is now dead. He was lonely all the time, and he turned to drugs all the time. And he did think he was trans, but he never lived that way openly. But he had all those problems because it's like his parents worked all day and he had no siblings. So up until he was allowed to like venture out into the neighborhood to find kids, he had no one. And then he would be like depressed if like he was in a situation where every kid in the neighborhood couldn't play right then. My parents are making me do dishes. He would get like extremely depressed because all he would do is go on. He'd have all the clothes and toys and internet access in the world because his parents had like money and he was the only kid, but he was just depressed and the internet was not making it better.
No, you had no real genuine human interaction. Yeah, well, that comes back to the whole lack of social skills. And maybe that wasn't caused by him being autistic, but just by his situation.
And his mom also reminded him all the time that he wanted a girl, or she wanted a girl.
That's got to be the worst.
She had this was my like best friend at the time.
He wanted to be a girl. He wanted his mom to love him.
She had a room in their house that she decorated as a girl's bedroom for if she had ever had a girl.
And they just left it there the whole time?
Yeah, I've been in that room. It's like Hello Kitty stuff.
That's insanely abusive.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy that didn't get his mother's love the way he should have.
That sounds like he had some deep-seated. I feel very sad for this person. You said he's passed.
Yeah.
That my heart hurts for him. I feel like that's got to be, as a young man, that's got to be one of the toughest things you have to deal with, especially if your dad really didn't care either.
He's just kind of like a pushover type guy, even though he's so nice. Like, I would hate if anybody heard me saying that. I like these people. Like, they weren't horrible parents, like I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like most people in this kind of situation, they feel like they're doing the best thing possible. They give him, like, everything. Like, I was always just like, why does he, like, feel so angsty against his parents? He has, like, good parents, but I understand now.
Materialism isn't love.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
It's not.
And the biggest affirmer of who you are is yourself. Like, you can have everyone tell you, oh, you're so great, you're this, you're that. But in reality, if you don't feel it yourself, you're not gonna accept it.
And from a young age, nobody's taking you aside and giving you that. Like every kid, I understand the trophy, the participation trophy mindset, where every kid needs to have that second where somebody takes them aside and be like, "You're special, you're important, you can do this, like like you are capable, you're a capable person, I believe in you." But it's not supposed to come from it's not supposed to come from the authority, right? It's supposed to come from like your parents or your peers.
Yes.
Or like it's not supposed to come from the organizing body.
Or just for no reason.
Yeah, just for showing up. Like it should be for,
that could break your dopamine receptors, it feels like.
Well, it has.
To quote Jay Noon.
It has. That's why we're where we are today with the TikTok and also brain rot.
It's been Free Talk Live. Go to freetalklive.com for more. Thanks for listening, and peace.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at